Chapter 776. Just as the female Princess Yao was about to destroy the light barrier cast by the Grand Mist Emperor, the last line of defense of the immortal world, just as the entire immortal world, including the Grand Mist Emperor, was about to collapse in despair, a sudden change occurred. The demon god appeared. The demon god finally hatched a male heaven-devouring beast and appeared in the immortal world. Moreover, the demon god did not attack the immortal world immediately, but confronted the Princess Yao. The two heaven-devouring beasts met. Monstrous hostility emanated from them. It was impossible to resolve this hostility. This hostility was even sharper and crueler than the Princess Yao towards the immortal world and the demon god towards the immortal world. Firstly, it was the instinct of the heaven-devouring beasts. It was almost impossible for two heaven-devouring beasts to appear in the same space at the same time. When the two beasts met, there would be a battle, and one would die. Moreover, the demon god had a deep-seated hatred towards the Princess Yao's identity. After all, the Princess Yao was the demon god's most beloved concubine, making him wear a green hat. This was a great humiliation that could not be tolerated. The Princess Yao's eyes turned cold. Demon god? To think that you finally succeeded. But, this seat is not afraid of you. This seat wants to devour you and obtain your power. To be able to devour the same heaven-devouring beast, that would be, what a delightful thing. That way, this seat's power will reach an unimaginable level. Finished speaking, the Princess Yao swept a cold glance at the immortal world and said disdainfully. Puny immortal world, this seat will come back and eat you all, then. The Princess Yao turned into a beam of ominous light. Soared into the sky. Disappeared without a trace. The demon god also disappeared. The two heaven-devouring beasts wanted to fight, but the place they fought was the universe. Because this was not just a fight, but a devouring. Losers. Destined to become the nourishment for the victors. They had to fight in the vast universe. That way, they would be able to use their fists and legs, and create space for devouring. Once the Princess Yao left, the demonic beast army immediately retreated like the tide. What a joke. The leader of the immortal world, the Grand Mist Emperor, had arrived. If the demonic beast army did not retreat, they would be destroyed. In an instant, the demonic beast army completely retreated. At this moment in the immortal world, within the light barrier that was on the verge of shattering, what a fool. Stunned. The immortals. Each of them had a complicated expression on their faces. Originally, there was nothing they could do. In order to turn the situation around, they were all waiting for Princess Yao to destroy the immortal world in despair. From today onwards, there would no longer be any immortals in the universe. In their hearts, all hopes had turned to dust, but in the next second, the immortal realm miraculously survived. A new lease on life. This was a completely new lease of life after a disaster. However, the protection of the immortal world did not depend on the unity of the immortals. Instead, it was the encounter of the two heaven-devouring beasts. This was hilarious and ironic. The immortals had mixed feelings. After the demon army retreated, the immortals gradually came back to their senses. They all sighed, unable to control themselves. This is just like a dream. TSK. I thought we would be extinct. It looks like there will be a tough battle between the two heaven-devouring beasts. We should also take this opportunity to regroup. That's right. It's best if the two beasts are both injured or even perish together. At this time, the three high-rank immortal emperors were half happy and half worried. They were happy that they managed to preserve their lives and did not have to perish. More worrisome was the fact that the Grand Mist Emperor might find out about all the crimes they had committed. The three high-rank immortal emperors were indeed too numerous to count. Putting aside the fact that they had framed immortal Emperor Zhu Dao and Luo Xiang, that despicable matter. This time, they had tricked the entire immortal world into attacking a teleportation formation, causing the entire immortal world to suffer a great loss. Moreover, it was uncertain whether the hatching of the female heaven-devouring beast had anything to do with the three of them. Don't let that primordial emperor interrogate us. Let's not take the initiative to meet primordial emperor either. That guy's whereabouts are uncertain. He might have already left the immortal world. That's right. In any case, let's not touch the bad luck. The light barrier that enveloped the immortal world turned into falling petals. Immortal songs resounded and runes intertwined. A middle-aged man in green robes with an extremely plain face and appearance stood casually beside a murmuring river in the immortal realm. It was the primordial emperor. At this moment, the primordial emperor's face was slightly pale. Just now, in the battle with Princess Xiao, he was slightly injured and almost all of his immortal force was spent on the light barrier. Sigh, the primordial emperor looked into the deep universe, and his eyes flashed with intense sorrow. At this time, countless immortals had already discovered the primordial emperor. They flew over and saluted, "Greetings, primordial emperor. Primordial emperor, you've finally returned. With you presiding, our immortal world will not perish." In the immortal world, the primordial emperor was also a person of virtue and prestige. "Everyone, don't stand on ceremony." The primordial emperor smiled faintly. "Great emperor, this time, the two heaven-devouring beasts killing each other is probably a good thing for our immortal world." Some senior immortal emperors expressed their opinions. This may not be. The worry on the primordial emperor's face became more and more intense. "Great emperor, did you divine something? There are some deviations in the development of the matter." The primordial emperor shook his head slightly. In fact, the most ideal outcome of this battle was to defeat the male and female heaven-devouring beasts one by one. This was the immortal world. The only way out. But now, when the two heaven-devouring beasts met, there would definitely be a fusion. The strength of the fusion had already exceeded the primordial emperor's imagination. In the primordial emperor's prediction, once Xiaofan was in the ancient saber world, he would obtain a huge fortuitous encounter. Then, if he joined forces with the primordial emperor, 2 against 1, there was a possibility of defeating Princess Xiao or the demon god. But once the fusion appeared, the situation would descend into despair. Even Xiaofan would be killed instantly. Once the fusion appeared, the universe would be destroyed. Suddenly, the primordial emperor was shocked. The demon god appeared, in other words, the young Xiaofan was defeated in the final battle with the demon god? But that's not right. When the demon god appeared, it was the main body of the heaven-devouring beasts, it did not occupy the human body. At this time, it's here. Little friend Xiaofan. TSK. The Grand Mist Emperor's face that had always been calm and collected suddenly turned ashen. He almost lost his composure. Such a powerful aura. How could it be so powerful, compared to me, it's several times stronger. Almost comparable to Princess Xiao. The primordial emperor was completely stunned. He was not Princess Xiao's opponent. But Xiaofan's strength was slightly stronger than Princess Xiao. Strictly speaking, the demon god should be slightly stronger than Xiaofan, and Xiaofan was slightly stronger than Princess Xiao, who was much stronger than the primordial emperor. At this moment, Xiaofan directly used traces of saber chi to break through the void, flying towards the immortal world at a speed faster than the speed of light. Finally, he reached the immortal world. I don't feel the aura of the heaven-devouring beasts, nor the demon god's aura. But the immortal world seems to have encountered a catastrophe, and there is a feeling of 1,000 holes. Xiaofan frowned slightly. Forget it, the immortal world has entered. Swoosh. Xiaofan retracted almost all of his mental strength, soul force, and saber intent. He was like an ordinary person entering the immortal world. The moment he entered the immortal world, Xiaofan was guided by the qi and landed beside the primordial emperor. The two great figures had met. No, to be more accurate, it should be a reunion. Xiaofan was stunned for a moment, then he laughed loudly. Ha 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 ha. Greetings, Immortal. I never thought that we would meet again. Ha 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 ha. In the past, when I was in the mortal world, I was deeply troubled by the demon god's soul in my heart, and I almost went astray. Luckily, at the crucial moment, Immortal, you enlightened me. If I'm not wrong, you should be the primordial emperor, right? Ha ha ha. Little friend, how have you been? The primordial emperor laughed heartily. Little friend, you really are the #1 genius of the human race. Since we last met, you have actually grown to such an extent that you can already resist the combination of the heaven-devouring beast and the demon god. You truly deserve to be the #1 genius of the human race. This time, this old man is sincerely convinced. You should know that when this old man came to the mortal world to enlighten you, it was impossible for me to predict that you would grow to such an extent. Immortal, let's not talk about other things, but the kindness you have shown me, if I can be reborn. Xiaofan was extremely sincere. In this life, I have met many benefactors. Among them, when I was in the mortal world, my sect master and my senior brothers were all very kind to me. As for the immortals, Master Absolute Saber and the Primordial Emperor are also very righteous. Back then, if the Primordial Emperor had directly killed me, causing the demon god's soul in my heart and the heaven-devouring beast's egg to perish together, it would have been a righteous thing to do. But you didn't do that, and instead gave me a chance. Forget it, let's not talk about it. The most important thing now is to discuss how to resist the great calamity that is coming. If we can't resist it, the entire immortal world will be destroyed. The Primordial Emperor hurriedly said. But Xiaofan waved his hand. Wait, then, Xiaofan roared at the sky. 3 great high-rank immortal emperors, get out here right now. His voice reverberated and spread to every corner of the immortal world, so that every immortal could hear it clearly. This shocked the immortals, and they did not know whether to laugh or to cry. For so many years, no one had ever roared like this in the immortal world, directly insulting the 3 great high-rank immortal emperors. Very well, little friend Xiaofan, you should settle this matter first. Indeed, these few black sheep should be eradicated. In the past, for the sake of the foundation of the immortal world, I have always tolerated and indulged them. Now that I think about it, I have caused a great disaster. The Primordial Emperor nodded. To be continued. Chapter 777. Xiaofan roared, ordering the 3 high-rank immortal emperors to show themselves. It caused the entire immortal dimension to fall deathly silent. As for the Grand Mist Emperor, he simply sat cross-legged at the side and closed his eyes to rest, as if the matter had nothing to do with him. 3 high-rank immortal emperors, show yourselves. Xiaofan roared again. At this time, some of the immortals in the immortal world started to stir. Although many immortals were extremely dissatisfied with the 3 advanced immortal emperors, the 3 advanced immortal emperors had been in the immortal world for countless years and had accumulated a lot of prestige. Furthermore, the 3 advanced immortal emperors had fought with their lives on the line during the battle to seal the god of beasts. They had made great contributions to the immortal world. Moreover, the 3 high-rank immortal emperors did not encounter any major problems when they were managing the immortal world. They had managed the immortal world in an orderly manner. In other words, even if there were some dissatisfaction, the 3 high-rank immortal emperors still held a high position in the hearts of the immortals. After the Grand Mist Emperor, the 3 high-rank immortal emperors could be considered leaders, but now, a young boy had come to the immortal world and shouted at them. His attitude towards the 3 high-rank immortal emperors was extremely vile. This was too much. Therefore, a large number of immortals started barking, "Who? How dare he insult the 3 high-rank immortal emperors? What nonsense! Ridiculous! He's too rude to the 3 high-rank immortal emperors. He's treating the immortal world like nothing. Arrogant and despotic. Look at this young boy. His life force is extremely young. He doesn't know his place. Facing the clamor of the immortal world, Xiaofan was unmoved. His eyes flickered, and a strong mental energy fluctuation mixed with saber intent burst out from his body. Whoosh! All the noise and dissatisfaction were directly cut off by these wisps of spiritual fluctuations. The immortals who were shouting were all silenced by an inexplicable and tyrannical aura. They couldn't speak. Not only could they not speak, but their throats felt like they were being cut by a sharp knife, causing goosebumps to rise. The entire celestial world seemed to be shrouded in a layer of biting cold wind. All the immortals in the world of immortals shuddered. At this moment, they finally realized that this young man who dared to challenge 3 high-level celestial emperors was actually this powerful. With a single thought, he could affect the celestial phenomena of the immortal world. Even the Grand Mist Emperor, who was sitting cross-legged on the side, couldn't help opening his eyes slightly. Xiaofan's eyes flashed with shock. He thought to himself, what a powerful aura. This young man's strength really far surpasses mine. Incomparable, incomparable. As expected of the strongest existence in the history of the human race. I'm afraid there's no one who can surpass him in the future. In the future, the safety of the human race will depend on this heaven-defying young man. The Grand Mist Emperor looked at Xiaofan with hope in his eyes, and at this moment, the 3 high-rank immortal emperors, this guy's aura, it's young Xiaofan. The 3 high-rank immortal emperors also recognized Xiaofan. In the past, Xiaofan ascended to the immortal world from the mortal world, stirred up a storm and destroyed the #1 sect in the immortal world. After that, in order to plunder the Absolute Blade's treasures, we suppressed Xiaofan. However, we failed to capture Xiaofan in the end. Instead, we forced him to the demon world. After that, Xiaofan disappeared without a trace. We even suspected that he had died in the demon world. But now, he actually returned to the immortal world alive. Furthermore, Xiaofan has actually become so powerful. Look, the aura on his body is like a sharp blade, his strength is hidden. His battle prowess has already surpassed us. Inconceivable. How could he grow to such an abnormal level? Right now, we can't even see through him. He's unfathomable. What should we do? This Xiaofan is now challenging us. He seems to have inherited all of the Absolute Blade's legacy. Back then, the Absolute Blade must have known about the crimes we committed. Hiss. This Xiaofan, don't tell me, he's going to expose us in front of all the immortals in the immortal world. In an instant, the 3 high-rank immortal emperors were in a state of complete terror. It's over, now, we're at an absolute disadvantage. That Grand Mist Emperor, he doesn't seem to want to interfere in this matter. That Grand Mist Emperor won't protect us. We're finished, might as well fight with Xiaofan. We can't let him ruin our reputation. No, even if the 3 of us join forces, I'm afraid we won't be a match for that bastard Xiaofan. Moreover, there's still the Grand Mist Emperor watching from the side. Once he helps Xiaofan, we won't have any chance to turn back. Run. Run as fast as you can. Xiaofan looked at the sky with a gloomy expression. However, his eyes were burning with satisfaction. 3 old dogs. Back then, you used despicable means to frame my master, causing him to fall to the mortal world and eventually die. Moreover, you covered up the fact that my master was harmed by you so that you could continue to act as sanctimonious leaders in the immortal world and be respected. Chen Fan's face was filled with disdain as he spoke. In the last words of the invincible Blade Master, he also asked me to try my best to avenge him. However, he did not have too many expectations. However, today, I, Xiaofan, have achieved great success. Killing these 3 old dogs is as easy as killing pigs and dogs. Naturally, I will avenge my master. I will also let all the immortals know the true colors of these 3 old dogs. I will avenge my master's injustice. Xiaofan's gaze was like a sharp knife, almost splitting the sky of the immortal world in half. Under the pressure of Xiaofan's aura, the entire immortal world was in a state of desolation and dead silence. 3 old dogs. Quickly get out here for this, daddy. Xiaofan roared again. All the immortals in the immortal world were flabbergasted by their repeated insults. At this moment, whoosh whoosh whoosh, 3 rays of light. Like flying meteors. They appeared directly in the sky. They were about to teleport away. Trying to escape. Ha 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 ha. Xiaofan's spirit shook. Pft. 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 The 3 rays of light suddenly paused and dimmed. 3 figures appeared in the sky. They were the 3 high-grade immortal emperors. At this moment, the 3 high-grade immortal emperors looked dispirited. Their faces were pale and blood was flowing out of the corner of their mouths. Just now, Xiaofan's spirit shook and injured the 3 high-grade immortal emperors who were about to escape. At this moment, the 3 high-grade immortal emperors were restrained by an invisible force and could not move an inch. The 3 high-grade immortal emperors looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with fear and shock. Despair again. At this moment, young man. An experienced immortal emperor, an old antique who had not appeared in the world for 10,000 years, rose into the sky and tried to persuade Xiaofan. Young man, you are indeed extremely powerful. The appearance of a heaven-defying human like you is indeed a great fortune for the immortal world. However, one should be lenient when possible. Although you are very powerful, you should not be unscrupulous and bully the weak. Perhaps you have some personal grudges with the 3 high-grade immortal emperors, but now, the heaven-devouring beasts and the demon race are wreaking havoc in the human world. The immortal world is also in danger. We must unite and put down our grudges to fight against them together. Only then will we be able to get through this crisis. Young man, the bigger picture is more important. You, shut up. Xiaofan stared at the experienced immortal emperor with cold eyes. A saber light flashed in the depth of his eyes. The immortal force in the body of the experienced immortal emperor suddenly turned turbid. He became speechless and sank into the abyss. At this moment, Xiaofan. You. The 3 high-grade immortal emperors were extremely ferocious. We still remember you. You brat, ever since you came to the immortal world from the mortal world, you have been stirring up a storm of blood in the immortal world. You have killed many immortal emperors and even destroyed the number 1 sect in the immortal world with your own hands. You are a bloodthirsty little devil. At that time, we only intervened to stop your massacre and wanted to capture you to persuade you. But you still harbor hatred in your heart. Today, you want to take revenge on us. Grand Mist Emperor. This bastard has killed at least a dozen mid-grade immortal emperors in the immortal world. His crimes are too numerous to list. You can't protect him. The 3 high-grade immortal emperors staked everything on this one throw. They wanted to be the first to complain about Xiaofan. However, the Grand Mist Emperor did not say a word and did not move an inch. The 3 high-grade immortal emperors began to incite the other immortals in the immortal world. Everyone, don't be afraid of this brat. He has indeed committed heinous crimes in the past. Now, he doesn't care about the safety of the immortal world and wants to take revenge on us. Everyone, join forces and suppress this brat. Shut up. Now, let me announce your crimes, Xiaofan said coldly. Back then, you 3 old dogs snuck into the demon world with immortal Emperor Zhu Dao after the battle to seal the demon god, intending to plunder the demon god's treasure. However, you coveted the demon god's concubine and were tempted to have sex with her. Humans and demons actually crossed the line of morality. This is the first crime punishable by death. Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao saw through your filthy acts with the demonic woman. You actually wanted to kill Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao to silence him. This is the second crime punishable by death. After you had sex with the demonic woman, a vile spawn was born. Such indecency is the third crime punishable by death. Then, I roughly learned about the hatching of the second heaven-devouring beast through spiritual fluctuations. You should know that the hatching of a heaven-devouring beast is extremely difficult and requires a huge amount of energy. Logically speaking, the second heaven-devouring beast would not have been able to obtain enough energy to hatch. It was you three old dogs who used crafty schemes to deceive the world and swindle the immortal world's energy to hatch the second heaven-devouring beast. You are the instigators of this catastrophe. You are the architects of this disaster. Your actions may cause the destruction of the immortal world. The destruction of the human race. This is the fourth crime punishable by death. Your crimes are heinous. You are worse than pigs and dogs. Now, I will carry out your death sentence. Xiaofan's voice was bone-chilling. P.S. I recommend a good fantasy book. The pace is tight and the blood is boiling. Unparalleled Sword Dao, the author is City Scorching Fire. To be continued. Chapter 778. Finally, Xiaofan exposed the crimes of the three high-level immortal emperors in front of all the immortals in the immortal world. These three high-grade immortal sovereigns had always been sanctimonious. They could summon the wind and summon the rain in the immortal world, acting like tyrants. They were very noble and dignified, deceiving the people of the world. Xiaofan felt extremely disgusted by this. Say. Now that he had been exposed in front of everyone, Xiaofan felt extremely satisfied. All of a sudden, the entire celestial world fell silent. Completely dumbfounded. Complete silence. Every single immortal's expression froze. What shocked the immortals the most was that the three high-level immortal emperors actually had an affair with the demon god's most beloved concubine. It even gave birth to an evil creature. This was too ridiculous. The Yao god's most beloved concubine was also a member of the Yao race. Whether it was in the immortal world or the mortal world, the union between the human clan and the demon clan was something that had never happened since ancient times. After all, the demon race had a physical body. Changing into the appearance of a human was just a disguise. Removing the disguise would reveal the true face of evil. It was just like a human wanting to have sex with a monster that looked like a giant bull. Just the thought of it was disgusting. However, as the leaders of the celestial world, the three high-rank celestial emperors, had knowingly committed such a despicable act that even ordinary mortals would despise. The most terrifying thing was that there were three immortal emperors and a demon woman at the same time. What was even more terrifying was that not only did they have sexual intercourse, they even gave birth to a monster that was neither human nor demon. How preposterous was this? However, this matter, at first glance. This is ridiculous. But the immortals thought about it carefully. There wasn't a single flaw. First, after the monster god was sealed, the immortal army had the perfect opportunity to invade the monster realm and exterminate the leaderless monster race. In fact, many experienced immortal emperors had also calculated and evaluated the demon realm at that time. This was the darkest period. The demon god had fallen, and internal strife had arisen. Once the immortal world sent out their army, they would have a high chance of exterminating the demon race. They would definitely cut the weeds and pull up the roots. However, the three high-rank immortal emperors obstructed them time and again. He made up a lot of excuses. Refused to send troops. Now that he thought about it, there was indeed a huge problem. Moreover, previously, the three high-level immortal emperors had requested for the entire immortal world to focus their firepower. Wantonly attacking a teleportation array. He injected a huge amount of energy into it. Now, he knew that this energy was definitely not used to destroy the demon realm. Then, where did this energy go? That was an energy that could destroy the world. There was no way it would disappear for no reason. But from what Xiaofan had said, it was highly likely that the energy had been used to hatch the heaven-devouring beast. Because the immortals knew that the energy required to hatch a heaven-devouring beast was extremely terrifying. After listening to Xiaofan list the crimes of the 3 high-rank immortal emperors, as well as the origin of the heaven-devouring beasts, the immortals were at least 70% convinced. Suddenly, countless immortals were enraged. He was thoroughly enraged. He was enraged. The 3 high-rank immortal emperors were destroying the immortal realm. A single heaven-devouring beast was enough to flatten the entire immortal realm. All the immortals were killed. Originally, this heaven-devouring beast could not be hatched. It was the 3 high-tier immortal emperors who worked together to hatch it. This was a heinous crime. 10,000 deaths could not atone for his sins. It was not an exaggeration to exterminate the entire clan. Kill. Slaughter these 3 beasts. Trash that son of AB*TCH. Immediately, some of the immortals could not hold back their anger and roared. The 3 high-rank immortal emperors were pale with fear. Their bodies were trembling, and their teeth were chattering. Xiaofan, you're slandering us. Xiaofan, how dare you slander us? You, show us the evidence. Everyone, don't believe this guy. This guy is abusing his position to avenge personal grudges. Because we have some grudges against him, he has placed some groundless crimes on our heads. The 3 high-rank immortal emperors howled in despair. Enough, plead guilty and accept your punishment. Your crimes are indeed infuriating. You are not fit to be immortals. You don't even have the right to be human. Finally, the Grand Mist Emperor spoke. Of course, I also have an undeniable responsibility for this matter. Back then, you harmed Immortal Emperor Zhu Dao and even did that kind of thing with Luo Xiang. In consideration of the stability of the immortal world and the reputation of the immortals, I did not pursue the matter further. As a result, it led to today's disaster. His words were equivalent to directly announcing the death penalty of the 3 high-rank immortal emperors. No. We know we're wrong. Grand Mist Emperor. Xiaofan, please let us live. At this time, arguing was useless. The 3 high-rank immortal emperors cried and begged for mercy. Some of the immortals who had a trace of trust and hope for the 3 high-rank immortal emperors were now in complete despair. Then, a great amount of anger rose in their hearts. As soon as his words fell, pooh! 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 3 rays of saber light flashed. The heads of the 3 high-rank immortal emperors flew into the sky. In the next moment, Xiaohan's spiritual force fluctuated, and countless ancient saber souls swept out, cutting the corpses of the 3 high-rank immortal emperors into dust. He died and his Tao vanished. Even their souls were annihilated by Xiaofan. Master! Disciple has avenged you. Xiaofan immediately knelt on the ground and prayed to the sky. He had killed 3 high-rank immortal emperors with his own hands to comfort his master's soul in heaven. I hope Master can smile in the underworld. Xiaofan stood up and walked towards the Grand Mist Emperor. Grand Mist Emperor, we should discuss how to deal with the 2 heaven-devouring beasts now, and, the Grand Mist Emperor also stood up. This is not a trivial matter, in an elegant wooden pavilion in the immortal world. 2 cups of tea. Xiaofan and the Grand Mist Emperor sat across from each other. Grand Mist Emperor, your wisdom is unparalleled. This junior still needs your advice on this matter. Fight against the 2 heaven-devouring beasts, Xiaofan said sincerely. Originally, this junior also planned to kill the demon god, but things were still a hair's breadth away. The demon god still hatched. Man proposes, heaven disposes, this is fate. The Grand Mist Emperor nodded slightly. In the past, this old man only calculated that Xiaofan, you might be able to kill the demon god. However, what happened next, this old man could not predict. For example, if you could improve to such a terrifying extent. If it was just one heaven-devouring beast, then little friend Xiaofan, you would be able to save the entire immortal world. But now, it's very difficult. This old man is not trying to scare you. The probability of the immortal world's destruction is more than 90%, no, 99%. This. Xiaofan frowned. Little friend Xiaofan, with your combat strength, you should be able to fight against one heaven-devouring beast. However, the biggest problem now is that the two heaven-devouring beasts are killing each other. According to the survival law of the heaven-devouring beast race, after the two heaven-devouring beasts fight, the loser will be devoured, and the winner will inherit the loser's power. In other words, whether the female heaven-devouring beast or the male heaven-devouring beast survives, we will be facing an undefeatable giant. Little friend Xiaofan, even if we join forces, we will still be killed in an instant. The fusion of two heaven-devouring beasts. Xiaofan had to agree with the Grand Mist Emperor. However, Xiaofan was unwilling to sit and wait for death. Then, Grand Mist Emperor, let's find the place where the two heaven-devouring beasts are fighting. Wait for them to injure each other, then annihilate them in one fell swoop. Don't let the fusion be born smoothly. It's no use. The heaven-devouring beasts are space beasts. They are more familiar with the universe than we are. We can't find the battlefield they are looking for. The Grand Mist Emperor said confidently. Rather than searching for a needle in a haystack in the vast universe, why don't we find a countermeasure in the limited time we have, this? Xiaofan racking his brains. Even if we gather all the forces in the immortal world, including the two of us, we still won't be able to turn the tide. This. How do we increase our strength? If Xiaofan wanted to defeat the fusion of two heaven-devouring beasts, he would need to double his strength. Otherwise, there would be no room for discussion. However, Xiaofan's strength had reached a bottleneck that he could not break through. It was extremely difficult to improve even the slightest bit, let alone double his strength. Unless I can double my strength in a short time. But that is impossible. Xiaofan shook his head bitterly. The Grand Mist Emperor also stared at Xiaofan. Yes, impossible. Even if you kill the only demon in your heart and make your heart flawless, it is still impossible to double your strength, then? The only demon in my heart? Xiaofan's nerves tightened. Let's not talk about this for now. The Grand Mist Emperor waved his hand as if he had found a clue. He looked at Xiaofan. Young man, your mental force is too strong, huh? Xiaofan was stumped by the Grand Mist Emperor's unexpected words. Spiritual force condensed into a vast planet. The Grand Mist Emperor looked at Xiaofan with a serious expression. Since ancient times, there has never been a human with such a powerful spiritual force. Spiritual force is so dazzling that it has the ability to create things. Young man, with your spiritual force, you can definitely create a planet that is more lively than the immortal world. At this point, the Grand Mist Emperor suddenly lowered his voice to a whisper. Young man, I do know of a cultivation technique, but in the billions of years, there has never been a creature that has successfully cultivated this cultivation technique. If you can cultivate this cultivation technique, then your battle strength might double. What cultivation technique? Xiaofan's heart was burning with passion. As long as my battle strength doubles, there is a possibility of defeating the fusion of the heaven-devouring beasts. This cultivation technique is very dangerous. The Grand Mist Emperor hesitated for a moment before saying. In fact, this cultivation technique is equivalent to a ritual. Once you cultivate it, you can instantly extract the mental force of all the immortals in the immortal world and turn it into your own mental force to fight. To be continued. Chapter 779. The immortal world and the entire human race were indeed in a precarious situation, on the brink of extinction, after the final battle between the demon god and demon princess, two heaven-devouring beasts. A fusion would be born. The fusion was invincible and could kill everything in an instant. Xiaofan and the Grand Mist Emperor discussed a countermeasure. After a long time of thought, they came to a conclusion: unless Xiaofan's attack power was doubled, there was no way to reverse the situation. However, it was almost impossible for Xiaofan's attack power to be doubled. However, the Grand Mist Emperor was the leader of the immortal world after all. He was proficient in divining the universe and knew everything in the world. Finally, he mentioned an ancient cultivation technique that could double Xiaofan's attack power. Link all of the immortal world's immortal spiritual force together. Then, through some kind of ritual, transfer all of it to little friend Xiaofan's soul temporarily. Little friend Xiaofan's spiritual force will skyrocket, and your attack power won't be as simple as doubling. The Grand Mist Emperor said solemnly. What? Transfer all the spiritual force of the immortals to me? Xiaofan was shocked. One had to know that when one's spiritual force was strong enough, they could derive all kinds of divine abilities. Moreover, if one's spiritual force was strong enough, they could abandon their physical body and survive in the world with just their spiritual force, existing with heaven and earth, shining as brightly as the sun and moon. Undying and indestructible. It could even be possessed. For example, even if Xiaofan's physical body was destroyed, as long as his spiritual force remained, he would be immortal. The number of immortals in the immortal world was uncountable, countless perfected immortals and immortal emperors. If the spiritual force of these immortals was transferred, they would all be connected into one. That would definitely surpass Xiaofan's spiritual force, individually. In the entire universe, no living being could surpass Xiaofan in terms of spiritual force. But there were too many of them. If they all joined forces, their spiritual force would definitely surpass Xiaofan's. In fact, if they could really connect their spiritual force into one, only tens of thousands of perfected immortals would be needed. The sum of the spiritual force of 100 immortal emperors would already surpass Xiaofan. If I can really extract such a huge amount of spiritual force, then I can definitely kill the fusion of the heaven-devouring beasts. Xiaofan said with certainty. Then, Xiaofan's interest was piqued. Grand Mist Emperor, please explain this cultivation art to me in detail. Since it can destroy the heaven-devouring beast, this kid is willing to risk his life to try it. The Grand Mist Emperor pondered for a moment, then shook his head. No. This old man tried to figure it out just now. No, what do you mean? Xiaofan was getting impatient. Grand Mist Emperor. At a time like this, please do not hesitate. Time was precious. Whatever it was, he would pour it all out. If we allow the two heaven-devouring beasts to mate, everything will be over. This. The Grand Mist Emperor finally explained in detail. Xiaofan, my young friend, this is an ancient cultivation method. As for how old it is, it's probably even older than the birth of the immortal world. When I was exploring the universe, I found this cultivation method in a ruin. It was inscribed on a stone stele. The ruin was located on a barren planet. This old man has probed the existence of this planet before the world of immortals. Presumably, this planet once gave birth to a brilliant civilization, but it declined and went extinct. There are many ruins on this planet. One of the stone steles has faint ancient words carved on it. This old man has studied it for countless years and finally deciphered the ancient words, and obtained this cultivation art. It's a cultivation art that cultivates one's spiritual force. The basic principle behind it is to link everyone's soul energy together and infuse it into the brain of a single person, causing that person's soul energy to soar. It's said that those who are able to successfully cultivate this technique will be able to shatter an entire universe with a single thought and create an entire world with a single thought. However, I'm afraid this cultivation art is impossible to cultivate. If one tries to cultivate it rashly, there is a possibility that one's soul will explode. The first condition to attempt to cultivate this cultivation art is to have a terrifying spiritual force. Xiaofan, you've satisfied this condition. Your spiritual force is so strong that this old man doesn't dare to imagine it. However, even if your spiritual force is so strong, there is a 99% chance that you won't be able to cultivate this cultivation art. This is because you need to continuously accept the souls of others. You should know that every soul is unique, and every memory is unique as well. A mortal's life is as short as an ant's, and they have very few memories. It is very easy to accept a mortal's soul. However, the spiritual force of a mortal's soul is pitifully weak, so accepting a mortal's soul is useless. Then, accepting the memories of an immortal soul is far too difficult. An immortal's life is long, and they seek the path of immortality. Which one of them doesn't slay their inner demons and external demons? They experience countless ups and downs. It can be said that every immortal's memory is vast and boundless. Xiaofan, your spiritual force is strong, but when you accept the spiritual souls of different immortals, countless memories will pour into your mind like a tidal wave, like a ferocious beast. You'll go crazy. According to this old man's assessment, I'm afraid your limit is to accept hundreds or even thousands of immortal souls. If you exceed this limit, your own soul will become cloudy, and you will lose your mind. You will fall into a boundless sea of suffering, and your soul will shatter, and you will die. However, in order to kill the fusion of two heaven-devouring beasts, you will need at least 2/3 of the immortals in the immortal world to transfer their spiritual force to you. If you want to win, you will need to accept the spiritual force of all the immortals. This will definitely exceed your spiritual force. After listening to the Grand Mist Emperor's explanation, Xiaofan finally understood. That's right, no matter how strong Xiaohan's spiritual force was, he wouldn't be able to withstand too many immortals' memories. Most of the things that immortals experienced were earth-shattering. If Xiaofan received so many memories that didn't belong to him, it would indeed cause him to lose his mind. Xiaofan fell into deep thought. The two of them fell silent. This ancient cultivation art was almost impossible to cultivate. It could barely accept the spiritual force of immortals. But it was useless. It couldn't resist the fusion of heaven-devouring beasts, move the entire immortal world? Xiaofan suddenly asked. It's useless. The Grand Mist Emperor shook his head. The heaven-devouring beasts have already smelled our scent. No matter which corner of the universe we hide in, we will be found by them. Moreover, they prefer their prey to hide. They will chase and kill us. In other words, cultivating that impossible cultivation method has become saving the immortal world. And the only way for all of humanity in the universe. Xiaofan frowned deeply. A long time passed before Xiaofan said, Grand Mist Emperor, we can't just sit here and wait for death, right? Why don't you tell me the cultivation method of this ancient cultivation technique? I'll study it a little. Good, little friend Xiaofan, your wisdom is higher than the heavens, and your fate is deep. Who knows, you might be able to find the secret to cultivating this technique. The Grand Mist Emperor did not beat around the bush and shot out a beam of light. It entered Xiaofan's mind. Xiaofan immediately understood the steps of this ancient cultivation method. I need to set up a ceremony to make all the immortals sit cross-legged in a formation the size of a chessboard. Then, I will execute the technique to extract each immortal's soul force. The cultivation method of this ancient cultivation method was actually very simple. Xiaofan understood it at first glance. How about this, Grand Mist Emperor, go and set up the ceremony formation. This kid will go into seclusion to study it. Xiaofan immediately stood up. All right, there's no time to lose. This old man will go and set it up now. However, little friend Xiaofan, if you really can't cultivate this cultivation method, then don't force yourself. The Grand Mist Emperor said. Very soon, Xiaofan and the Grand Mist Emperor went their separate ways. Xiaofan returned to the Linglong Pagoda in his cosmos bag. He sat cross-legged on the fourth floor of the Linglong Pagoda. Fortunately, the time inside the Linglong Pagoda flowed very slowly. 10,000 days inside the pagoda was equivalent to 1 day in the real world. Thus, Xiaofan had enough time to study the cultivation method. Xiaofan sat cross-legged, his eyes focused on his nose focused on his heart, like an old monk in meditation. This ancient cultivation technique had been repeatedly studied by Xiaofan, and he did not miss a single detail. Only by cultivating this cultivation method and absorbing the soul force of all the immortals in the immortal world will I be able to kill the combined heaven-devouring beasts, in the distant depths of the universe. 2 heaven-devouring beasts were engaged in a destructive battle. The 2 heaven-devouring beasts appeared in their true forms. One of them spoke in the voice of a woman. The other one spoke in a cold and aloof male voice. This battle was simply earth-shattering. Powerful energy beams exploded. Mushroom clouds rose into the sky. Space evaporated. Obliterated time. The powerful shockwave caused the planets to shatter and explode. Ha ha ha. This seat once ruled the Yao world and was known as the monster god. Then, I hatched a male heaven-devouring beast egg. And you're nothing but a bastard child born from that slut Luo Xiang and 3 immortal emperors. You hatched male and female heaven-devouring beast eggs. Now, this seat will tell you, male heaven-devouring beasts are slightly stronger than female heaven-devouring beasts. As for me, I'm not just a little bit stronger than you. Because of that. Die. Puff, a destructive beam shot out. It directly penetrated the brain of one of the heaven-devouring beasts. A heart-wrenching scream rang out. Then, this heaven-devouring beast was as still as a rock. Its life fluctuation dissipated, leaving only a corpse full of terrifying energy. Humph! The other heaven-devouring beast pounced and bit the corpse of the dead heaven-devouring beast. That's right. When this seat devours and digests this heaven-devouring beast, I'll create a combined body. P.S. I recommend a book written by a super guru. It's a Xuanhuan book. In the field of fantasy, he is one of the best in the world of web literature. And I, too, grew up reading his books. Sky-Burning Wrath, the work of the Guru Demon Knight. Well, if you don't want to search for it, it's okay. Tomorrow afternoon, this book will appear on the top of the list. Please look forward to it. To be continued. Chapter 780. Qiankuan Pouch. The fourth floor of the Linglong Pagoda. Xiaofan had been in seclusion in the fourth floor of the Linglong Pagoda for thousands of years. During these thousands of years, Xiaofan had been pondering over the cultivation method of that ancient cultivation technique. He would only go out occasionally to meet his family and friends. Most of the time, he was meditating in seclusion. Of course, thousands of years of seclusion in the Linglong Pagoda was less than a day in the outside world. The most difficult part of this ancient mental cultivation technique is that I won't be able to bear all the soul memories that flow into my soul. It will cause me to have a split personality. Xiaofan frowned. Unless I erase all the memories of the immortals so that their souls are pure, I won't be disturbed when I absorb them. It will be very refreshing and I won't have to worry about my soul exploding. As a matter of fact, Xiaofan had hit the nail on the head. Moreover, this seemed to be the only feasible method. However, even though it seemed feasible, it was impossible to carry it out. Erasing the memories of all the immortals in the entire immortal world. That was simply insane. It was no different from killing all the immortals. If humans had no memories, what was the difference between them and the walking dead? To resist the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts, doing such a perverse thing was also not a good idea. No. This kind of thing requires a ruthless person. A few hundred days later, should I let everyone in the immortal world hide in the Qiankuan pouch first? Xiaofan thought of another plan. But soon, he overturned it. Putting aside the fact that the Qianquan pouch can't contain all the immortals in the immortal world. Even if it can, the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts and the heaven-devouring beasts might still find out. Moreover, even if the combination doesn't find out, it will immediately devour the mortal world, killing all the mortals. The immortals would rather die in battle to protect the mortal world than to watch the mortal world being plunged into misery and suffering. Xiaofan thought about it for a long time but still couldn't come up with a solution for the time being. Forget it. Let's not think about it for the time being. Xiaofan stood up, stretched his body and walked out. Outside the secret cultivation room, Bai Shi and the other beings in the alternate dimensions were standing there in a hurry. As soon as they saw Xiaofan coming out, they swarmed towards him anxiously. These beings in the alternate dimensions knew that their master had been frowning for thousands of years, trying to think of a solution. His mind was haggard. "Master, you," Bai Shi said with concern. "Master, have you found a way to deal with the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts?" Hu Xiaofan let out a breath of impure air, his face showing an expression of helplessness. "Master, we pledge our lives to follow you." That was it. "Master, please lead us." He directly fought against the fusion of the heaven-devouring beasts. "We didn't hesitate to self-detonate to win an opportunity for our master. Master's saber intent can cut through spacetime and create a world. As long as we can win even the slightest chance for Master, I believe that Master will definitely be able to kill the combined heaven-devouring beasts." World 99 bared his teeth and took the initiative to ask for battle. Logically speaking, these 100 extra-dimensional beings had cultivated in the Linglong Pagoda for countless years and had all become high-grade immortal thearchs. A total of 100 high-grade immortal thearchs should have been able to pose a threat to the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts. However, Xiaofan shook his head. "This can only be a pointless sacrifice. You probably don't know the strength of the heaven-devouring beasts." Xiaofan asked himself honestly. If he fought with all his strength, he could instantly kill 100 extra-dimensional beings. First, he could injure them with a jolt of his mental strength. Then, he could use his saber intent to cut them down, ending the battle in an instant. I can say with certainty that the heaven-devouring beasts will not give you the chance to self-detonate. Not to mention the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts. If you all attack together, you will only die in battle. If you all fight with brute force, even if you all kill all the immortals, it will still be like hitting a rock with an egg. After hearing his words, these extra-dimensional beings fell into silence. We can only cultivate that ancient cultivation technique successfully. Apart from that, there is no other way. Xiaofan said as if he was talking to himself. "Master, are you talking about that mental strength cultivation technique?" Bai Shi frowned and immediately said, "Master, that cultivation technique is extremely difficult to cultivate. We can't help Master much. However, when Master is cultivating, if you need our help, just say the word and we will definitely sacrifice our lives to help Master comprehend that cultivation technique." Huh. Hearing this, Xiaofan's mind suddenly flashed with a flash of inspiration. Wait. Xiaofan's body shook violently. He seemed to have found some clues. His eyes lit up like torches as he stared at the group of slaves. "These Bai Shi and the other extra-dimensional beings are all my slaves. Their souls worship me, so I can search their memories at will. Their memories won't cause any burden to my soul. If all the immortals in the world of immortals are temporarily my slaves like Bai Shi and the others, then I can perfectly extract their memories. If the immortals temporarily become my slaves, apart from not being able to resist me, their cultivation base, their souls, and their memories won't be affected in any way. The key is that with the master-slave contract, the master can read the slave's memories without any hindrance. The slave's thoughts toward his master were very simple. There was only one thing: submission. Finally, Xiaofan had inadvertently grasped the key to cultivating that ancient cultivation technique that was impossible to cultivate successfully. Master, what did you think of? Bai Shi also noticed Xiaofan's unusual behavior. I thought of something. Good. There's no time to lose. Xiaofan said quickly. Listen up, I'm going to set up a ritual to extract your souls and see if it works. Yes, Master. In the Qianquan bag. In Xiaofan's realm. At this moment, Xiaofan had already set up a formation similar to a chessboard in the void according to the description of the cultivation technique. Latitude and longitude. 100 immortal emperor-level extra-dimensional beings sat cross-legged at the intersection of the array's latitude and longitude. Xiaofan sat in the middle. Many crystals were placed in the array. They were used as energy to activate the array. These crystals were not expensive. They were not expensive. In the immortal realm, their number was relatively large. In addition, there were many strange and mysterious runes carved into the array. Below the void, a dense crowd of people had gathered. Including Wu Mingchu, Xiaofan's wife, and his son Xiaoan. All the mortals were looking up at Xiaofan. Most of them did not know what Xiaofan was going to do. But when they saw Xiaofan's solemn expression, they knew that he must be doing something extremely important. Thus, the entire realm was silent. No one dared to say a word. Wu and Xiao Mingchu, who knew what was going on, were discussing it with voice transmissions. Now, the entire universe is in danger. The combination of the heaven-devouring beasts is about to be born. It can be said that the human race is in danger. This time. The hope to save the immortal realm and the human race. All of it has fallen on Xiaofan. I wonder if he can turn the tide. It's said that in order to turn the tide, one must cultivate that cultivation technique. I hope that junior brother Xiaofan can create a miracle this time. In the void. Now, I'm going to extract your soul and mind power. Relax. Xiaofan said sternly. Yes. Master. The 100 extra-dimensional beings shouted in unison. The next moment, let's begin. Xiaofan nodded slightly. Soon after, a mysterious rune formed by pure mind power appeared above Xiaofan's head. The rune was like a deep pool, a black hole, an abyss. It produced a powerful suction force. At the same time, swoosh. 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 Light formed by the fluctuations of mind power shot out from the heads of the 100 extra-dimensional beings. Extract, try extracting a bit first. Hong, the rune above Xiaofan's head sucked. 100 lives, 99 lives, 98 lives, 97 lives, 99% of the light of mind power from the 10 extra-dimensional beings was absorbed, leaving only a little to protect their bodies. Of course, the extraction of mind power could not be completely drained, or they would die immediately. 99% of the soul power of the 10 extra-dimensional beings was absorbed directly into his own soul. 10 rays of light fused into the rune above Xiaofan's head. Immediately, the rune became even more powerful, its light shining brightly. Xiaofan could clearly feel that his soul had become stronger. There's no burden on my soul at all. Xiaofan's heart trembled. It's like drinking water or eating food. Ha 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 ha. It really seems to work. Xiaofan was so overjoyed that he couldn't help but throw his head back and laugh wildly. The next moment, boom. 99% of the mind power of the remaining 99 extra-dimensional beings was instantly extracted by Xiaofan. Fusion. There's no burden. It's very pure. It's very simple. Xiaofan stood up. Then, the rune above his head flashed, and the 100 rays of light returned to the brain of the extra-dimensional beings. I finally found a way to overcome this obstacle. Good, there's no time to lose, I'll go look for the Grand Mist Emperor now. Xiaofan's figure flickered, and he left the Cosmos sack. Immortal World. Inside a pavilion in a famous historical site. Little friend Xiaofan, you said you found the best way to cultivate that ancient cultivation technique? The Grand Mist Emperor looked at Xiaofan with an incredulous expression. Yes. As long as you let go of your soul and temporarily become my slave, establishing a master-servant relationship with me, when I extract the soul power, there won't be any burden due to the different memories. Because it's an instinct for a master to read the slave's memories. You have the highest authority. Xiaofan's voice was loud and clear. Good. The Grand Mist Emperor also understood the crux of the matter in a split second. Little friend Xiaofan, you're really something. Indeed, this is the only way. To think that you could think of this. This old man is really impressed, and sincerely convinced. To be continued. Chapter 781. Xiaofan explained his plan to the Grand Mist Emperor. $23x. It was simple. He wanted all the immortals in the immortal world to become his slaves, merging the thoughts of master and servant. Then, Xiaofan would arrange a ceremony to extract 99% of the soul force from all the slaves. In this way, he would be able to successfully cultivate the eternal mystic art. Hearing Xiaofan's plan, the Grand Mist Emperor was enlightened in an instant. Like waking up from a dream. Even the Grand Mist Emperor's eyes shone with a dazzling light. It was as if he had found the lighthouse in the middle of a lost road. The feeling of enlightenment. Originally, it was impossible to cultivate this miraculous art no matter what. The Grand Mist Emperor was an all-knowing existence, and as the leader of the immortal world since ancient times, he had long predicted that not only was it impossible to cultivate this miraculous spiritual force art, but if one tried to cultivate it recklessly, in the best-case scenario, one's mind would split, and in the worst-case scenario, one's mind would explode and they would die. However, after listening to Xiaofan's brilliant plan, the Grand Mist Emperor was thoroughly enlightened. At this point, he was completely in awe of Xiaofan's resourcefulness. However, the Grand Mist Emperor wants to convince all the immortals in the world to become my, Xiaofan's, slaves. This. Xiaofan frowned slightly. It's very difficult. Of course, I can only say with a clear conscience that I, Xiaofan, have absolutely no selfish motives, and have never thought of controlling the entire immortal world through this matter. Little friend Xiaofan, you don't have to be like this. The Grand Mist Emperor's expression turned serious. This old man is proficient in the art of reading minds, and I have long seen that little friend has a kind heart. In fact, you are not someone who fights for hegemony. In your state of mind, you have no desires, and you are free and unfettered. You will never use this opportunity to enslave the immortals, and rule the immortal world. After a pause, the Grand Mist Emperor stood up. Little friend Xiaofan, there's no time to lose. There's no time to lose. Hurry up and get ready. This old man will immediately notify the entire immortal world and have every immortal be prepared to sign a master-servant contract with you. Even this old man will sign a master-servant contract with you. There's not much time left before the fusion of the two heaven-devouring beasts, and the fusion of the two heaven-devouring beasts is about to take over the immortal world. We can't afford to waste any time now. Little friend Xiaofan had taken in so many slaves all at once. Do you have a problem? There shouldn't be any problems. Xiaofan pondered for a moment before nodding his head. You should know. The extinguishing heaven-decimating earth mental technique that Xiaofan cultivated, aside from sharpening his mental power, also had the ability to enslave other living beings. Now, Xiaofan's mental strength was so strong that it was undefeatable. Therefore, no matter who it was, Xiaofan could enslave them. Basically, Xiaofan could forcefully enslave some ordinary immortal emperors. Xiaofan had a certain chance of enslaving immortal emperors with higher cultivation realms, but now, all the immortals in the immortal world did not need Xiaofan to forcibly enslave them. They would voluntarily open up their soul and mental strength, submitting to Xiaofan and giving him their faith. In this way, Xiaofan did not need to use any tricks. He only needed to sweep his mental strength and he would be able to obtain a large number of immortal slaves. Grand Mist Emperor, as long as the immortals open up their soul and give me their faith without the slightest bit of resistance, there won't be any problems. Good. Little friend Xiaofan, I'll go inform the immortal world now. Also, this old man will hurry up and set up the formation to cultivate that mystical technique. The Grand Mist Emperor said with certainty. Little friend Xiaofan, prepare yourself. With that said, the Grand Mist Emperor left. Xiaofan took a deep breath and sat cross-legged, adjusting his mental state to its peak. At the same time, the Grand Mist Emperor directly appeared in the sky above the immortal world. His entire body emitted a dazzling radiance, and an immense aura of righteousness spread out, enveloping the entire immortal world. Seeing this, the densely packed immortals gathered together, looking up at the Grand Mist Emperor in the sky and uttering words of respect. The Grand Mist Emperor has appeared. It seems like something big is about to happen in our immortal world. It's probably to deal with the war against the heaven-devouring beasts. Yes, our immortal world, even the entire race, is in a state of near extinction. The Grand Mist Emperor is leading us in a final resistance, to turn the tide and save everything. Recently, the Grand Mist Emperor has also set up some formations in the sky above the immortal world. It seems to be used to fight against the heaven-devouring beasts. Yes, at this moment, in the sky above the immortal world, densely packed formations like a chessboard appeared. The void was inlaid with many energy crystals and carved with a large number of ancient runes. Grand Mist Emperor, what plans do you have to protect the immortal world? Please tell us. We will definitely follow your orders and fight against the heaven-devouring beasts to the death. Even if we have to pay with our lives, we won't hesitate. Some of the more experienced high-level immortal emperors shouted. In the void. My fellow comrades in the immortal world, I'm sure you already know that the two heaven-devouring beasts are killing each other. But this isn't a good thing for our immortal world. On the contrary, it's the greatest tragedy and nightmare. Because the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts and heaven-devouring beasts will be born. It's an existence that no one can resist. Even this old man will be killed in an instant if he faces the combination. However, there's always a chance of survival. Now, we've found the only way to fight against the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts and heaven-devouring beasts. Immortals, please open your hearts and establish a master-servant contract with little friend Xiaofan. Then, transfer your mental strength to little friend Xiaofan without any hindrance, so that little friend Xiaofan can successfully cultivate the divine art to fight against the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts and heaven-devouring beasts. The Grand Mist Emperor was the totem of all the immortals in the immortal world. He was their pillar of faith, their spiritual sustenance. Today, he had personally come out to speak. Moreover, the immortals also understood the seriousness of the matter. Therefore, soon, Emperor, we'll offer our hearts and minds immediately. We'll worship Xiaofan. We'll become his slaves. As long as we can fight against the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts and heaven-devouring beasts, even if we have to sacrifice our lives, it's nothing. The Grand Mist Emperor nodded, then turned to Xiaofan. Little friend Xiaofan, you may begin. In the next moment, whoosh, Xiaofan rose into the air. Xiaofan sat cross-legged, his body emitting boundless light. He looked solemn and dignified. Everyone, after killing the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts and heaven-devouring beasts, I, Xiaofan, will automatically remove my slave relationship. You can rest assured about this. Moreover, as long as the immortal world is safe, Xiaofan, will immediately go into seclusion. I have no ambition to rule over the immortal world. Xiaofan spoke with fervor and assurance. Xiaofan, let's begin. We all believe in you. The immortals clamored. These immortals trusted Xiaofan very much. First, the Grand Mist Emperor supported Xiaofan unconditionally. Second, Xiaofan's battle strength was too strong. He killed 3 high-level immortal emperors as easily as picking up grass. In fact, even the Grand Mist Emperor was no match for Xiaofan. Therefore, if Xiaofan wanted to rule over the immortal world, there was no need for him to play such underhanded tricks. He could just use force to suppress them. In an instant, a dense crowd of immortals opened their hearts and minds to Xiaofan, not resisting at all. Power of faith surged towards Xiaofan like a tidal wave. To be continued. Chapter 782. Xiaofan's plan was progressing smoothly. 23x. Under the summons of the Grand Mist Emperor, all the immortals in the immortal world sat down cross-legged and looked down at Xiaofan with pious expressions. They opened up their hearts and souls, offering their most loyal faith to Xiaofan. In an instant, the vast immortal world was filled with a grand and solemn Sanskrit chant. One after another, the purest and most translucent halos of light appeared and swarmed towards Xiaofan. And at this moment, Xiaofan, his appearance was solemn and dignified. Every cell in his body was emitting a misty light, as pure and untainted as a diamond. Every ray of misty light was filled with the power of edification, expiation, and enlightenment. It was like directly rescuing people when they were on the wrong path, pulling them back from the edge of the cliff. In the past, Xiaofan had used the power of edification in the extinguishing heaven decimating earth mental technique to capture some slaves. But now, Xiaofan's mental force was like the midday sun. When he used the power of edification again, he was like a fish in water. A single ray of mental force could plant a seed of faith in the depths of the target's soul. Xiaofan could even make an ordinary true immortal submit to him with a single look. Now, the immortals in the immortal world were opening up their hearts and souls to worship Xiaofan, releasing the power of faith to him. This made it even easier for Xiaofan to edify these immortals. The rays of power of faith were completely absorbed by Xiaofan's mental force and returned to the light ray. The light ray shone into the hearts of these immortals. Soul, directly branded one master-servant contract after another. Xiaofan's entire body was wrapped in a gorgeous halo of light. Heavenly flowers showered down. Golden lotuses sprouted from the ground, thousands of auspicious clouds bloomed, and auspicious qi filled the air. It was as if a deity had descended to the mortal world. Soon, the immortals had become Xiaofan's slaves. The look in their eyes started to change. When they looked at Xiaofan, their eyes were filled with fanatical worship and faith. It was as if they were facing the God they had worshipped all their lives. They worshipped him with all their heart and soul, without the slightest blasphemy. He had become Xiaofan's slave. As for Xiaofan, he could sense that more and more immortals were under his control. With a single thought, he could wipe them all out. Naturally, a sense of superiority arose from his bloodline. However, Xiaofan quickly dispelled this domineering attitude of a master. Deep in his heart, he became humble. Xiaofan did not become the master of so many immortals because of him. After all, every single immortal had submitted to him. It was all for the sake of fighting against the combination of the heaven-devouring beasts. The immortals were so righteous that they sacrificed their lives for justice. If Xiaofan developed a sense of superiority because of this, it would be a moral loss. Guard your heart. Don't be happy with material things, don't be sad about yourself, don't be arrogant. Xiaofan's state of mind was completely calm. In such a desireless state of mind, the light around Xiaofan's body grew more and more intense, more and more resplendent, more and more flawless. His face was holy and noble, like a god from the outer realms, untainted by dust. At this point, Xiaofan's state of mind was even more perfect. It was as if he had reached the level of a great sage from ancient times. There were no flaws at all. In terms of temperament, Xiaofan had made great progress again. The immortals who had already submitted to Xiaofan formed circles around him, chanting songs of praise as brilliant light shone from their mouths. this was no longer like signing a master-servant contract. It was more like countless immortals were working together with Xiaofan to write a great and heroic chapter of the immortal world. This kind of phenomenon caused the Grand Mist Emperor and other experienced immortal emperors to gasp in admiration. They were also amazed by Xiaofan and were sincerely convinced. Even the Grand Mist Emperor was thoroughly impressed by Xiaofan at this moment. He even had the impulse to worship Xiaofan willingly. Good. That's great. Little friend Xiaofan really meets all the requirements to save the immortal world. He's the perfect savior. The Grand Mist Emperor was extremely moved. His voice trembled. With the halo around him, this old man suddenly had an illusion that little friend Xiaofan is the protector and master of the immortal world that was born when the chaos of the immortal world was first formed. Forget it, don't hesitate any longer. Offer our faith. Open our hearts. Finally, the senior immortal emperors led by the Grand Mist Emperor unconditionally opened their hearts to Xiaofan. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, dense rays of spiritual light swept over them. The eyes of the Grand Mist Emperor and the others began to change. Soon, all of them became Xiaohan's slaves. About a few hours later, Xiaofan stopped releasing spiritual light rays. He retracted his aura and slowly stood up. Countless immortals sat cross-legged in the void in all directions. With the Grand Mist Emperor as the leader, all of them looked at Xiaofan with eyes full of worship and faith. There was no trace of disobedience. In other words, Xiaofan had become the master of all the immortals in the immortal world. Ruling the immortal world. The fully deserving king of the immortal world. However, Xiaohan's eyes were as deep as an ancient well. Before the immortals could speak, Xiaofan took the initiative to speak. Everyone, there's no need to be courteous to me, Xiaofan. Now, the ritual formation for cultivating that ancient soul art has been set up. Everyone, get into position. I will now extract your soul force. Make haste, I can also feel that the fusion of the heaven-devouring beast and the heaven-devouring beast is about to be born. A great danger is beginning to invade my heart. I can't afford to be negligent. Let's begin. At Xiaohan's command, all the immortals entered the void and set up a chessboard-like formation. An immortal sat cross-legged at the intersection of the longitude and latitude. Xiaofan sat at the center of countless immortals. Begin. A sharp light flashed across Xiaohan's eyes. His hands formed a series of hand seals and like a whale sucking in water, he extracted the immortal's soul force one by one. 99% of each immortal's soul force was extracted by Xiaofan through the air. Because these immortals were already Xiaohan's slaves, their memories would not interfere with the extraction of their soul force. Thus, the extraction of their soul force would not cause any burden to his own soul. Like a sponge, Xiaofan absorbed the glass-like rays of soul force to his heart's content. His own soul force rose steadily. In the depths of the vast universe. Finally, the demon god devoured the demon prince. No, to be more precise, one heaven-devouring beast devoured another heaven-devouring beast. In this way, the demon god's body doubled in size. The wild aura it exuded also doubled in size. The fusion was finally born. Ha 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 ha. Power. I feel invincible power. Ha 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 ha. A single thought can obliterate a starry sky. Ha 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 ha. The demon god opened its mouth wide. A terrifying black hole immediately formed, forcibly compressing and devouring a large part of the universe. In a breath's time, several stars in the distance were devoured. Extremely terrifying. To be continued. Chapter 783. In just a few hours, Xiaofan had all the immortals in the immortal world as his slaves. Even the Grand Mist Emperor, the leader of the immortal world since the beginning of time, bowed to Xiaofan. Now, Xiaofan had started to practice the most ancient, mysterious, and invincible mental technique since the beginning of the universe. The formation was set up. Next, all the immortals were ordered to sit cross-legged at the intersection point of the chessboard-like formation. Xiaofan extracted the immortal's spiritual force with ease. All of the immortal's psychic and soul power were drained by Xiaofan like the currents of the ocean. In an instant, with Xiaofan as the center, an illusory whirlpool formed. Dazzling lights shone in all directions, shining into Xiaofan's soul. Xiaofan's soul became hotter and brighter, and auspicious qi and multicolored light intertwined. It was a marvelous sight. Xiaofan himself had turned into a blazing sun. The light and heat surpassed that of the sun, illuminating the entire immortal world. Even the real sun seemed to lose its splendor. Moreover, from the inside of the sun that Xiaofan had turned into, came an ancient song of praise. It was as if countless gods were sitting cross-legged inside, worshipping Xiaofan, and supporting him. Xiaofan himself could feel that his spiritual energy had grown to an unimaginable level. It gave him a majestic feeling, as if he was shining with the heavens and earth, shining with the sun and moon. At this time, 99% of the Grand Mist Emperor's spiritual force had been extracted by Xiaofan, leaving only a tiny bit of his soul to guard his heart. Success. It's really a success. The Grand Mist Emperor's heart was pounding. He couldn't control himself. One had to know. The calamity this time. Even the Grand Mist Emperor had lost all hope in the depths of his heart. The truth was, he was living in despair. He knew that as long as the heaven-devouring beasts combined descended, the immortal world would be destroyed, and the civilization and order of the universe would be completely crushed. All living beings in the universe would become slaves of the heaven-devouring beasts combined, and even become their food. However, in the midst of despair, Xiaofan was born. A man of sages. The current Xiaofan was no less than the ancient sages who created heaven and earth, the ones who enlightened all living beings. There's hope for our immortal world. At this point, the Grand Mist Emperor was practically looking forward to Xiaofan merging with the heaven-devouring beast as soon as possible. As for Xiaofan, I have the powerful mental energy to create the immortal world. Xiaofan was very clear about his current state. The current him had reached a realm that was unimaginable in the past, for example. Now, Xiaofan could simply imagine it. He could turn an imaginary object into a real object. Furthermore, this change did not require much energy. It only required a single thought. For example, Xiaofan could imagine a mountain range as he pleased. Then, the mountain range would be born. It would be a real mountain range that could nurture trees, flowers, birds, and beasts. There's still a portion of the immortal psychic and soul power that I haven't extracted. Now's not the time to be complacent. Let's continue. Xiaofan's body shook. Rays of brilliant light shot out and continued to absorb the immortal spirit and soul. In the end, Xiaofan even used his will to envelop the entire immortal world, shrouding it in a layer of fog. In this way, Xiaofan's powerful and pure mental power would not leak out, in the vast universe. A gigantic creature that was so powerful that it could devour stars was flying in the universe. Wherever it passed, it would cause a terrifying disaster with a magnitude of 100. Wherever it passed, space and time would explode and shatter. Planets would be obliterated. Wherever it passed, everything would be destroyed, desolate, and withered. There was absolutely no sign of life. This gigantic creature was the demon god that had devoured Princess Yao. Ha ha ha. I'm many times stronger than before. The entire universe has become my backyard. I'm going to crush the entire immortal world. Now, no one can stop me. Ha ha ha, I'm going to seize the body of that young man named Xiaofan. Ha ha ha, I'm going to seize his body. Humph. Young Xiaofan has become the strongest existence in the human race. He has the strength to contend against me. However, he can't even withstand a single blow from me. Ha ha ha. Immortal world, wait for my arrival. The demon god let out a sinister and cold laugh. However, the demon god did not fly to the immortal world immediately. Instead, it flew around the universe and arrived at an extremely special area. This area was a huge black hole. Inside the black hole, there was a shocking energy fluctuation. If this energy fluctuation was released even a little, it would be enough to cause an unimaginable blow to the immortal world. And this ripple of energy was very similar to the life signature of the demon god. Yes. The life characteristics that came out of the black hole were the aura of a heaven-devouring beast. It seemed there were heaven-devouring beasts in this black hole. The demon god stopped flying and stopped outside the black hole. Ha ha ha. I've finally found a nest of heaven-devouring beasts in the universe. There are 5 heaven-devouring beast cubs inside. Perhaps, these are the only 5 heaven-devouring beasts left in the universe. These 5 heaven-devouring beasts have yet to mature and haven't killed each other yet. Just nice, I can make them submit to me. The next moment, roar. The demon god roared at the black hole. The sound wave was like a tidal wave, carrying with it the power to destroy everything. It directly shattered the black hole. Then, 5 smaller heaven-devouring beasts appeared in front of the demon god. Under the demon god's powerful aura and pressure, the 5 heaven-devouring beasts immediately trembled. Then, the demon god transmitted some thoughts to the 5 heaven-devouring beasts. Soon, the 5 heaven-devouring beasts prostrated themselves at the demon god's feet, trembling, expressing their submission. Good. Now, bring these 5 heaven-devouring beasts to conquer the immortal world. After that, I'll find a place to devour all of them and absorb their life energy. The demon god was completely satisfied. Then, the demon god led the 5 heaven-devouring beasts toward the immortal world. A real disaster. The greatest disaster in the history of the immortal world was about to befall. The immortal world. Xiaofan's body emitted a blinding light. At this moment, Xiaofan's subconsciousness surged with a great sense of danger. Oh! The combination has been born and is marching toward the immortal world. Xiaofan opened his eyes and a huge beam of light shot up into the sky. Come on! This is the final battle. Let's see if the immortal world is destroyed or the combination of heaven-devouring beasts is destroyed. Xiaofan stood up. To be continued. Chapter 784. With Xiaofan's level of cultivation, coupled with the fact that his mental strength and soul power were as bright as the heavens and the earth, and the sun and moon shone together, he had a strong and accurate sense of danger and premonition. Even though the monster god was still very far away from the immortal world, Xiaofan could feel the monster god's approach. It was a mysterious feeling. It could only be sensed, but not described. In fact, Xiaofan could sense that the demon god was now many times stronger than before. Xiaofan stood up, his eyes glowing with a violent and unwavering battle intent. Xiaofan knew that the final battle was about to begin. This battle was not a battle between Xiaofan and the demon gods. It was a battle between individuals. It was a battle between 2 great races in the entire universe. The loser would face extinction. All the immortals in the world of immortals realized that the monster god was about to descend upon the world of immortals from Xiaofan's emotional fluctuations. Their eyes glinted with a solemn determination to fight to the death. However, when they looked at Xiaofan, they were also filled with blind admiration and confidence. The crowd of immortals stood up from the void formation. Their souls, psychic power, and hearts converged with Xiaofan's. If Xiaofan wanted to command all the immortals in the world of immortals to fight, he could unify their movements with a single thought. He would be able to command them with ease. However, Xiaofan understood that these immortals wouldn't be of much help in the final battle against the monster god. This was a fight to the death between him and the monster god, 2 existences at the top of the food chain in the universe. I've already extracted 99% of the psychic and soul power of all the immortals in the world of immortals. With the current state of my soul, I should be able to face the monster god head-on. Boundless divine light shone from Xiaofan's sea of consciousness. It was as if countless gods were sitting cross-legged in Xiaofan's soul, chanting incessantly. However, to be on the safe side, Xiaofan still issued an order. Fellow immortals, the final battle is about to begin. Please release all your immortal force to envelop the world of immortals and form a defensive barrier to delay the monster god's first attack. Because Xiaofan had only extracted 99% of the psychic and soul power of each immortal, there was still some left. Because of this, immortals were able to fight and use their immortal power. However, if one's soul force was too weak, their combat prowess, combat techniques, and the execution of various immortal arts and divine abilities would be greatly restricted. However, he could only release his immortal energy to form a defensive barrier. This is not a problem at all. Xiaofan's order was quickly carried out, xiao, every single immortal. They all released their celestial power, which intertwined together at the same time, forming a seven-colored barrier of celestial power that wrapped around the entire celestial world. And this shield should be able to delay the demon god's attack speed for at least one breath. In one breath, I can release a few thousand spirit shock waves and a few thousand saber-intense slashes at the demon god. Xiaofan smiled in satisfaction. Xiaofan then issued an order to Bai Shi and the other beings from the alternate dimensions, telling them to come over immediately. Very soon, Bai Shi and the other 100 experts with strength equivalent to a high-grade immortal emperor appeared beside Xiaofan. Master. The curtains of the final battle are about to open. We request to fight with Master. Bai Shi and the others shouted in unison, not afraid of death. The immortals' morale soared when they saw 100 powerful beings appear. Hiss. I didn't expect Xiaofan to have such a trump card. Even the Grand Mist Emperor was slightly surprised. What all of you need to do is to channel your soul force into me, then release your energy to strengthen this defensive barrier. Xiaofan did not waste any more time and immediately gave the order. In an instant, Bai Shi and the other beings from the alternate dimensions had channeled 99% of their soul force into Xiaofan's body. This made Xiaofan's soul force even stronger and more abundant. Then, he released his energy to strengthen the immortal world's defensive barrier. Good. Now I have a higher chance of defeating the demon god. Xiaofan was very satisfied. The immortal world's defenses were nearly impregnable. Furthermore, Xiaofan's psychic power was completely restrained, ensuring that the immortal world's aura, as well as the fluctuations of his own psychic and soul power, were completely restrained, allowing the demon gods to sense the situation ahead of time. Demon god. We're getting closer and closer to the immortal world. At this point, there's only one battle left. It's not your death, it's my death. Xiaofan's aura had been brewed to the peak. The demon world. In the past, Princess Yao led a group of demons to attack the immortal world. Originally, the immortal world was on the verge of destruction, but at the crucial moment, the demon god appeared and lured the princess away, causing the demon army to retreat to the demon world. Now, the destructive fluctuation of the storm was not only sensed by Xiaofan and the people from the immortal world, but also by all the demons in the demon world. A war is about to break out. This war is mainly against the immortal world. However, once the immortal world is destroyed, our demon world will also be destroyed. What should we do? Are we going to join the army of the immortal world and form an alliance to resist this disaster? Impossible. Our demon race and the human race have always been enemies. It's impossible for us to form an alliance. This kind of thing has never happened since the beginning of time. Forming an alliance with the immortal world is a disgrace to our demon race. Forget it. Now, all the demon races in the demon world must eliminate the internal strife and unite. We must cooperate with all the immortals in the immortal world. Let's not talk about this matter anymore. However, we must release our demon chi to form a barrier to protect the demon world. The best result is that the immortals can withstand this disaster, and at the same time, their vitality will be greatly damaged, allowing our demon race to reap the benefits. Alright. Let's all release our demon chi to form a defensive barrier. Protect ourselves. We must resist this calamity. Very soon, every demon in the demon world, in the face of the impending disaster, gathered their demonic aura and formed a huge demonic power shield, shielding the demon world and protecting all the demon races within it. For the first time since the demon god was sealed, the demon race united. In the vast universe, a total of 6 heaven-devouring beasts were advancing towards the immortal world. The leading heaven-devouring beast was enormous. Its mouth was bigger than a planet. Its entire body was covered in dark golden mysterious patterns. Its eyes shone with the most evil light. This heaven-devouring beast was the demon god. After devouring the demon princess, the demon god claimed to be the strongest creature in the universe. The remaining 5 heaven-devouring beasts were smaller in size. They were the last 5 remaining heaven-devouring beasts in this universe. Now, all of them had submitted to the demon god. Although these 5 heaven-devouring beasts were still young, their combat strength and destructive power were not to be underestimated. It could be said that any one of these 5 heaven-devouring beasts was enough to kill the Grand Mist Emperor. Keek. It seems like I don't need to do anything. These 5 heaven-devouring beasts are enough to destroy the immortal world. What Grand Mist Emperor? What Xiaofan? They'll all be destroyed. Too weak, they're really too weak. The demon god was satisfied. Finally, we're almost at the immortal world. Keek. The immortal world appeared within the demon god's perception range. But at this time, the entire immortal world was wrapped in a layer of hazy light. The demon god could not see it clearly. As for the demon world, it could see a layer of demonic chi barrier. Oh! The immortal world is being shielded by an inexplicable power. The demon god paused for a moment. There seems to be a plan brewing against me. But, in the face of absolute power, all schemes are useless. Suddenly, the demon god commanded the 5 heaven-devouring beasts to attack the immortal world. This was the demon god's first wave of attack. The 5 heaven-devouring beasts attacked the immortal world first. As for the demon god, he was holding the rear. To be continued. Chapter 785. Finally, led by the demon god, the 6 heaven-devouring beasts arrived in the sky above the immortal world. In an instant, an indescribably terrifying pressure enveloped the entire immortal world. That powerful and earth-shattering life force fluctuation seemed to be able to shatter the immortal world with just a slight fluctuation. Of course, the demon god's pressure was mainly exerted on the immortal world. Thus, the demon world, which was far away from the immortal world, only suffered a little. Even so, the demonic chi barrier began to ripple, as if it was in imminent danger, the immortal world. The sky above the immortal world was covered in a hazy gray. It was extremely mysterious, preventing any external detection from penetrating into the immortal world. This was a defensive illusion set up by Xiaofan's supreme mental strength. Inside the immortal world, boundless light radiated in all directions with Xiaofan as the center. Countless immortals sat cross-legged in the void, looking down and releasing their immortal force to form a sparkling, resplendent, flawless defensive barrier. At this moment, this layer of defensive barrier was enduring a huge impact, and cracking sounds kept coming from it. Of course, the heaven-devouring beasts had yet to launch their attacks. Just their pressure alone was not enough to break through the defensive barriers set up by the Grand Mist Emperor and the 100 high-level Immortal Emperor realm experts, as well as countless other immortals. Xiaofan sat cross-legged at the core of the grand formation. Suddenly, his eyes flickered. I sense traces of the demon god's life force. Princess Yao's aura is also present in this terrifying life force. However, it looks like Princess Yao was devoured by the demon god. The current demon god. Its aura is unbelievably strong. It's strong enough to swallow the universe and dominate the world. However, something's wrong. Apart from the demon god, there are 5 other heaven-devouring beasts' life force. In other words, the demon god has brought 5 heaven-devouring beasts. Xiaofan was slightly shocked. In an instant, because of the connection between master and servant, all the immortals, vaguely, they knew that there was more than one heaven-devouring beast that had descended. Everyone, calm down. Xiaofan immediately sent a telepathic message. There are a total of 6 heaven-swallowing beasts. Among them, the demon god is extremely powerful and unparalleled. As for the remaining 5, they are still very young. There is no need to worry about them. They should be the heaven-swallowing beast cubs that have not matured yet. Xiaofan was the backbone of the entire lower realm, and even the entire human race. Hearing Xiaofan's words, Xiaofan's eyes widened. Only then did the immortals regain their composure. At this moment, under the demon god's command, the 5 heaven-devouring beasts were already charging towards the celestial realm. Ho! A wild roar rang out. The 5 heaven-devouring beasts roared in unison. The sound waves were like an apocalyptic disaster, directly spreading out. Bang! 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 A huge explosion. Merely the roars of the 5 heaven-devouring beasts were sufficient to blast the densely packed stars in the vicinity of the immortal dimension into powder. Even the space in the universe was like a piece of paper as it was shattered. Space and time were distorted, causing the universe to sink into eternal darkness. Kacha kacha kacha, countless immortals joined together to form a defensive barrier, but the roar cracked it with spiderweb-like cracks. The lingering sound waves penetrated into the celestial realm, causing countless celestial mountains to explode and buildings to collapse. The immortals sitting cross-legged in the void were shaken by the sound waves. The entire celestial realm was plunged into a state of extreme panic. The sun and moon turned dark, and the immortals sat cross-legged in the void. The immortals gritted their teeth and circulated their spirit and willpower to resist. However, they could not help but feel anxious. That's right. The combined roar of the 5 heaven-devouring beasts was enough to destroy the celestial realm. Without a doubt, this was the greatest catastrophe the celestial realm had ever suffered in history. If not for the defensive barrier that Xiaofan had ordered the immortals to set up in advance, the celestial realm would have been destroyed by now, flattened and reduced to ashes. If not for Xiaofan, the primordial emperor and his troops would not have been able to resist the 5 heaven-devouring beasts. Moreover, behind the 5 heaven-devouring beasts, there was an even more invincible demon god. Everyone, stay calm. Don't panic. Xiaofan's voice was calm and gentle, reverberating in the immortals' hearts and minds, instantly stabilizing the immortals' instinctive fear. They're about to attack. Xiaofan's spirit and soul were extremely focused. His entire body emitted a glazed light, exuding the aura of a saint that could enlighten the world. Under the shroud of this aura, the army was not in chaos, and everyone was at peace. At the same time, after a burst of wild roars, the 5 heaven-devouring beasts charged into the celestial realm without any hesitation. The demon gods behind them all grinned maliciously. Ha ha ha, the celestial realm is about to be destroyed. All immortals will become my food. Ha ha ha. Astonishingly, the voice rang out. The smile on the demon gods' faces froze. It was as if a fetus had died in the womb. The demon gods had a bad feeling about this. Something's wrong. I sense a terrifying mental force that can shake heaven and earth. There's something strange about the celestial realm. Also, I sense that Xiaofan seems to have grown stronger by who knows how many times. He actually gives me a feeling of enlightening all things, of radiating light, and of creating the universe. This is the aura of a great sage. Yes, Xiaofan could sense the demon god's increase in strength, and the demon gods could also sense Xiaofan's change. Because Xiaofan and the demon gods had once shared a body. When Xiaofan had risen from a living target, the demon gods had always lived in his heart. The two of them shared a subtle feeling that was difficult to describe with words. Wait! The demon gods immediately stopped the 5 heaven-devouring beasts' attack. But it was already too late. The 5 heaven-devouring beasts had very low intelligence. They did not care about the mysteries of the celestial realm and charged in. They're coming. Finally, the 5 heaven-devouring beasts were very close to the celestial realm, about to tear open the barrier. Suddenly. Die! Xiaofan's spirit jolted. Intense, unparalleled in the universe, containing all the immortals and 100 alternate dimensional lifeforms, terrifying mental and soul power, mixed with godly saber intent, blasted out. There was no technique involved in this attack. It was purely a direct attack of energy. Pft! With a tremor, a large area of space shattered like a pile of rubble. The 5 heaven-devouring beasts' cries stopped almost at the same time. Silence. As if their vocal cords had been cut off. Moreover, their huge bodies that were swooping down at high speed also stopped. Paused. Still. It was as if time had frozen, no longer flowing. The 5 heaven-devouring beasts were like trapped amber. The next moment, pft! 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 The towering bodies of the 5 heaven-devouring beasts completely exploded into pieces. Disintegrated into dust. Dust. Killed. A total of 5 heaven-devouring beasts were killed just like that. None of the immortals could believe what they had just seen. It was like a dream to him. The heaven-devouring beasts were the most powerful creatures in the universe, at the top of the food chain. Even a cub was difficult to kill, not even one. But now, Xiaofan had destroyed 5 heaven-devouring beasts with a single thought, as easy as drinking water and eating rice. This mystical spiritual art is indeed heaven-defying and invincible. Xiaofan was also intoxicated by it. The next moment, whoosh! 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 Xiaofan used his mental strength to fuse the powder of the 5 exploded heaven-devouring beasts' corpses into the broken barrier of the celestial realm. The celestial realm's barrier, which was on the verge of destruction, was not only repaired, but also strengthened. The 5 heaven-devouring beasts' life essence turned into defense. The celestial realm's defense became even more impregnable. To be continued. Chapter 786. Under the first wave of attacks from the 5 heaven-devouring beasts, Xiaofan used his soul force to blast the 5 heaven-devouring beasts apart. Such a method was simply unparalleled in the world. One must know that the heaven-devouring beasts were the strongest beings in the universe, and they stood at the top of the food chain. This was an indisputable fact, and it was practically impossible to kill a heaven-devouring beast. Yet now, Xiaofan had actually killed 5 heaven-devouring beasts in a single breath. Moreover, he'd used the fragments of their corpses to form the defensive barrier of the celestial world. It was too shocking. It was an invincible technique. In the blink of an eye, the entire immortal world was in an uproar. People were cheering Xiaofan's name, and in the depths of their hearts, they were even more pious in their worship. As a result, Xiaofan's mental strength became stronger and more stable. His state of mind had almost reached an invulnerable state. However, Xiaofan wasn't arrogant at all. I've extracted the souls of countless immortals, including super powerhouses like the Grand Mist Emperor and Bai Shi. In other words, all the power in the immortal world is gathered in my body. If I can't even kill 5 heaven-devouring beasts that haven't fully matured yet, how am I supposed to deal with the monster gods? Furthermore, the power of a demon god is many times stronger than these 5 heaven-swallowing beast cubs. They cannot be mentioned in the same breath. Xiaofan was extremely focused, quietly waiting for the demon god to descend, waiting for the final battle. At this moment, the defensive barrier of the immortal world that had fused with the corpses of the 5 heaven-devouring beasts was practically glistening with the radiance of the heavenly Tao. Give birth to the sun, moon and stars, and in the demon realm. All the demons. They were all stunned by the shocking scene just now. He originally thought that the 5 heaven-devouring beasts could instantly annihilate the entire immortal world. However, a boundless mental energy suddenly burst forth from the immortal world, dominating the entire universe and crushing the 5 heaven-devouring beasts. All of the monster spirits were well aware of the power that had erupted from the world of immortals. It was enough to raise the demon realm to the ground with a single thought. A supreme immortal has been born. It's over. Our demon world is completely finished. The immortal is going to unify the immortal world and the demon world. Some of the demons sighed in despair. At this moment, the demon god roar. Suddenly, the monster god let out a furious roar as well. The sound waves were like a torrent, spreading out in all directions, destroying everything it came into contact with. Just now, the demon god had already noticed some clues, but it was already too late for him to stop the 5 heaven-devouring beasts' charge. Just as that thought flashed through his mind, the 5 heaven-devouring beasts were already dead. Not even a speck of dust was left. Damn it! Impudent! To actually scheme against this seat. Roar! These 5 infant heaven-devouring beasts. I'm prepared to devour it. This is the source of nourishing energy that I urgently need. It was actually destroyed. What a waste. Unforgivable. The demon god was seething with anger. Soon, he was enraged. The situation stabilized a little. It's Xiaofan. It's this brat again. You ruined this seat's good thing. Good, very good, he actually grew again. It had reached such an unimaginable level. It turns out that I was still planning to easily trample on Xiaofan and obtain his flesh shell. However, from the looks of it now, he has cultivated a profound ancient cultivation technique. As the demon god cursed Xiaofan through gritted teeth, he released the heaven-devouring beast's energy in the form of demonic consciousness. It enveloped the entire world of immortals and extracted a great deal of information. All the immortals set up a formation and transferred their psychic energy to Xiaofan. Even the primordial emperor transferred his soul psychic energy to Xiaofan. Interesting, this cultivation technique is quite interesting. But why is Xiaofan able to withstand such a vast and complex soul? Isn't he afraid of schizophrenia? I know. So it turns out that these guys took the initiative to become Xiaofan's slaves, allowing Xiaofan to perfectly take over their souls. As expected of a fellow with higher intelligence than the heavens. Xiaofan, this is the most difficult to deal with human with the most potential that I have ever seen. However, he is still a little lacking. Ha. So be it. Perish. After a bout of bloodthirsty laughter, the demon god finally unleashed his power. The true form of the heaven-devouring beast opened its bloody maw. Demonic light and the heaven-devouring beast's energy intertwined and fused. Then, the heaven-devouring beast's body began to fade and vanish, leaving only its maw. A maw that encompassed all things in the world. The maw spat out cosmic storms, black holes, and rays of light that could swallow the world in one breath. The demon god's own demonic energy, as well as the heaven-devouring beast's origin energy after devouring Princess Yao, all poured into the maw. Then, the maw bit down on the world of immortals. The entire universe was compressed into a ball by the maw. It tightly wrapped around the world, sealing off the world's vital energy. Even the oxygen that living things needed to breathe began to condense, as if about to explode. Kacha kacha kacha, the world's defensive barrier began to crumble. It couldn't withstand the pressure of the maw at all. But strangely, the demon god had used all his energy to suppress the world of immortals, but not the monster realm. This was a little unusual. After all, the demon god was no longer part of the monster race. He could have destroyed the monster realm in passing, but he hadn't done so. The laws of order in the world of immortals were in chaos, collapsing. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, time, wind, fire, water, and other substances all disappeared. Mountains collapsed, the earth's crust cracked, the oceans evaporated, and all flora and fauna went extinct in an instant. The sun was also blocked. Oxygen condensed bit by bit, exploding. The entire world of immortals was about to enter a terrifying vacuum state. It was as if the entire universe was collapsing inwards, about to compress the world into a single point. At this time, Xiaofan didn't hesitate any longer. Fight to the death. Xiaofan condensed all his mental energy, all his saber will, into a single point, bursting forth with boundless light, shooting straight at the bloody maw of the demon god. Xiaofan's mental energy shone through the ages. Xiaofan's saber will cut through heaven and earth, dividing yin and yang. This strike contained the hope and faith of all immortals. The attack landed directly on the demon god's bloody maw. Pucci, the condensed universe was immediately blasted out rays of light, and oxygen was produced anew. But, it's useless. Destroy. The entire universe seemed to be left with only the voice of the demon god. The next moment, the bloody maw continued to bite at the world of immortals. Xiaofan's full-powered attack actually only managed to block the demon god slightly, but it didn't break the maw. Not good. Just a little bit more. Xiaofan cursed inwardly. Then, whoosh whoosh whoosh, Xiaofan continuously shot out mental energy saber lights, bombarding the bloody maw, slowing down the speed at which the maw devoured the immortal world. However, according to the current situation, the immortal world would fall sooner or later. At this time, Xiaofan, there is still a heart demon in your heart. The existence of this heart demon has caused a crack in your heart, affecting your battle strength. Now, I'll let you make up for this heart demon. Make you perfect. It's truly invulnerable. The Grand Mist Emperor roared. The next moment, pft! The void of the immortal world shattered, and a woman gracefully walked out. The moment this woman walked out, she looked at Xiaofan with boundless love in her eyes. This gaze contained indescribable yearning and love. At the same time, Xiaofan's gaze also looked over. To be continued. Chapter 787. The direct confrontation between Xiaofan and the demon god, this peerless battle had finally begun. This was a battle of life and death. One was an invincible species that had the demon god as its foundation and had fused with two heaven-devouring titanic beasts. The other was the strongest genius that had been born in the human race for countless years. He had absorbed the will of countless immortals and fought for hope. He had the aura of an ancient sage, Xiaofan. In such an ancient war, no other person or creature could intervene. However, in the direct confrontation, the demon god had actually suppressed Xiaofan. Xiaofan had condensed the soul force of all the immortals to form a blade intent that could sweep through the universe. However, it was unable to break through the demon god's defenses. Perhaps it was just a little bit more to defeat the demon god. However, in a battle of this level, that little bit was the key. It could decide the outcome of the battle. The demon god was about to conquer the immortal world in one go. At this time, the Grand Mist Emperor had used his final trump card. The void tore apart and a woman appeared in Xiaofan's vision with tears of longing in her eyes. golden hair casually fell on her shoulders. There was a hint of nobility in her languid manner. Her eyes were like gems, her skin like ivory, and she exuded a noble aura. Xiao Yunrong. It was Xiao Yunrong who had been separated from Xiaofan for countless years. At this moment, Xiaofan and Xiao Yunrong's eyes met. In that instant, time seemed to freeze. The mountains and rivers disappeared. The demon god, the danger, the disadvantageous situation they were facing. All of it dissipated between Xiaofan and Xiao Yunrong. Everything. Complete silence. Yunrong. Xiaofan didn't dare to look at his eyes. His emotions were completely dazed. For so many years, no matter how many fortuitous encounters Xiaofan had encountered, no matter how much he had grown, there was always a woman in his heart that he could not forget. Xiao Yunrong. When Xiaofan was still a weakling, he had been schemed against and poisoned. It was Xiao Yunrong who had helped Xiaofan fend off a plot. She had not hesitated to die. She had consumed the poison herself to save Xiaofan. How could Xiaofan not know that her feelings for Xiaofan ran deep? After Xiao Yunrong disappeared, Xiaofan had searched the world for her, but there was no news of her. Almost in countless nights, Xiaofan couldn't help replaying the scenes of him and Xiao Yunrong getting to know each other. These scenes were simply too penetrating. It couldn't be erased. Not only could it not be erased, but as time passed, it became clearer and clearer. Brand. This was the mark of regret. This was the greatest achievement of Xiaofan's life. It was also the strongest regret. When a person has regrets, there will be a flaw in their heart. Now, he saw Xiao Yunrong again. Not only did she not die from the poison, but she had also become an immortal. The deepest regret in Xiaofan's heart began to heal. The two of them approached each other. Xiaofan's entire body erupted with a peerless aurora. This light was clear and flawless. It was like the first ray of light after the primordial chaos separated the yin and yang of heaven and earth. This was divine light. Holy light. Under this light, all of the imperfections, fear, and worry in the hearts of the immortals vanished. The rest were all worshipping him. Submission to the universe. Under this light, the pressure and attack of the demon god seemed to be frozen. At this time, the Grand Mist Emperor nodded his head repeatedly. Good, this old man has put in a lot of effort. Now, this day has finally come. One had to know that the Grand Mist Emperor was an expert in divination, predicting the past and the future. After the demon god was sealed, the Grand Mist Emperor didn't let his guard down. He had foreseen that in the future, the immortal world, or even the whole universe, would face a disaster. With the Grand Mist Emperor's ability, he was unable to predict the specific details of this disaster. He couldn't avoid the arrival of this disaster. This was a disaster that seemed to be destined by fate. It was filled with sorrow. However, the Grand Mist Emperor had painstakingly deduced that there was a way to avert this calamity. The two most crucial people were Xiaofan and Xiao Yunrong. That was why the Grand Mist Emperor had descended to the lower realm. First, to enlighten Xiaofan, and second, to save Xiao Yunrong. At this moment, the disaster had descended. The two people who could save this disaster, Xiaofan and Xiao Yunrong, were finally together. Finally, Xiaofan and Xiao Yunrong approached each other. Yunrong, how have you been all these years? Xiaofan choked with sobs. I'm fine. I just miss you. Xiao Yunrong's pretty face was flushed with shyness like a young girl's. The two hugged each other. Suddenly, this hug caused Xiaofan's body to burst out with an even brighter light. Boom! 10,000 rays of light shot into the sky. When this light shone, countless planets in the universe were immediately compressed and burned to ashes. The demon god at this time, what? Xiaofan's heart became perfect in an instant. This heart was as deep as the universe. What's going on? The demon god suddenly burst into a shriek. Damn it! Damn it! Swoosh, a thick ray of light shot directly at the demon god. Puff! 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 The demon god's enormous body began to melt and collapse. Pieces of it were burned into nothingness. Roar! The demon god let out a shrill, heart-wrenching scream. This voice reverberated throughout the entire universe. The immortal world. Xiaofan's heart is finally perfect. His mental strength has reached an unprecedented level. He can destroy the demon god now. The spiritual light is about to melt and burn the demon god's body. All the immortals heaved a sigh of relief. Yunrong, destroy the demon god first. Then, we'll be together forever and never be separated. Xiaofan smiled. Then, he turned around and stared at the demon god. Boom! 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 Dense rays of light shot at the demon god. Ah! 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 The demon god's body was peeling off continuously. Xiaofan. You've eliminated the inner demons in your heart. Good. You've obtained terrifying power. But. Ha 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 ha. You've miscalculated. Do you think you're flawless now? Do you not have any inner demons? Ha 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 ha. Xiaofan, do you think you have a backup plan but I don't? Ha 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 ha. Xiaofan, you're destined to fail. Suddenly, the demon god burst into strange, wild laughter. This voice contained a plot that had been brewing for a long time. To deal with you, I also have a backup plan. To be continued. Chapter 788. After Xiaofan had reunited with Xiao Yunrong, his heart and soul had become perfect. Then, his spiritual force and soul force had reached an invulnerable level. The light from his spiritual force shone directly at the demon god. The demon god's gigantic and invincible body started to peel off. It started to melt and disappear. The eyes of all the immortals in the immortal world burned with desire. A disaster that could not be avoided seemed to be resolved at this moment. As long as this invincible fusion of heaven-devouring beasts and invincible beasts was destroyed, the world would return to peace. Peace and order would be restored. There would no longer be any destructive disasters. Puchi. 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 The demon god's aura was weakening. His life force fluctuations were weakening. More than half of his body had been melted by Xiaofan's spiritual force. Almost everyone thought that the outcome was already decided. The demon god could no longer turn the tables. The demon god would walk the path of destruction. Even the demon clans in the demon world were certain that the demon god would die. However, at this moment, the demon god burst into hysterical laughter. Ha 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 ha. It's not over yet. It's far from over. Ha 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 ha. Do all of you think that I don't have any means to counterattack? Xiaofan. You still have a flaw. A huge flaw. The demon god's voice reverberated throughout the universe. Xiaofan, I know you very well. Back then, I happened to fuse with your heart. I was one with you. Therefore, I know every detail of your rise like the back of my hand. Ha ha ha. If there's anyone else in this world who knows you the best, then it's undoubtedly me. Xiaofan. Your current strength is as high as the sun and moon, as vast as heaven and earth. In the entire universe, no other species can contend against you. Then, even if you have a weakness, no other species can discover it. But I know your weakness. I know your weakness. Ha ha ha. This weakness is the trump card that I've always kept. The demon god's voice was completely fearless and confident. It seemed like he really knew Xiaofan's weakness. Moreover, it seemed like he could use this weakness. Turn the tables. Counterattack. Turn defeat into victory. Kill Xiaofan. At this time, the Grand Mist Emperor frowned slightly. That's not right. I've deduced the heavenly cycle and studied the young Xiaofan. The flaw in his spirit, which is also his weakness, is Yunrong. Other than that, this young man's spirit is flawless. Untainted and untainted. How could there be a weakness? Was this demon god talking nonsense? This. The Grand Mist Emperor fell into deep thought. Xiaofan shouldn't have a weakness, shockingly. Ah! The Grand Mist Emperor screamed. He almost cried out involuntarily, I know. Xiaofan. Xiaofan does have a weakness. As for Xiaofan, I got it. I know the demon god's so-called weakness now. Xiaofan could not help but look at his left arm. On his left arm, there was a deep tattoo of a demon emperor's palm. In the past, when Xiaofan was still a grass root in the mortal world, a living target, the reason why he could rise so quickly was because of the help of the demon god's soul. However, the left arm of the demon the arch was Xiaofan's first fortuitous encounter. It was also the greatest fortuitous encounter that allowed Xiaofan to rise like a comet. After fusing with the demonic the arch left arm palm, Xiaofan had been killing his way through and his strength had improved by leaps and bounds. In the end, the left arm of the demon the arch devoured the corpses of the demon race and even the corpses of immortals. It was so strong that it could kill immortals at will. At this moment, the left arm of the demon the arch had already merged with Xiaofan's left arm intimately, completely inseparable. However, no matter what, the demon Thearcha's palm was still a demon. And Xiaofan was a human. The merging of the two would definitely leave a hidden danger. Moreover, this demon Thearcha's palm had been nourished and transformed by the demon god's energy. It could be said that Xiaofan's left arm of the demon Thearcha's palm also contained some of the demon god's life force. Buzz. 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 Suddenly, Xiaofan's entire left arm started to tremble uncontrollably. From inside the left arm, a terrifying roar of 10,000 demon remnant souls came out. Gaga gaga gaga. Xiaofan, you couldn't refine this demon Thearcha's palm at all. It was me who helped you refine it. After that, I released the supreme demon Qi and transformed your demon Thearcha's palm. It could be said that from that moment on, I've left a way to control you forever. Gaga gaga. Now. Xiaofan, die. Become a demon. Be completely oppressed and enslaved by me. The demon god's shattered body burst out with a shocking light. This light shone into the demon realm. In an instant, a strange scene happened. Boom. 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 Under the illumination of this light, all the demons in the demon realm melted. They melted into waves of pure demon liquid energy. And then, the demon liquid energy, which was like the water of 3 rivers and 5 lakes, flowed into Xiaofan's left arm of the demon Thearcha's palm like mercury spilling on the ground. Xiaofan's left arm of the demon Thearcha's palm absorbed all the demon liquid energy on its own. In an instant, at least millions of demons in the demon realm were destroyed and turned into energy that flowed into Xiaofan's left arm. Roar! 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 From Xiaofan's left arm, the roar of demons immediately resounded. The shocking demon Qi began to spread uncontrollably from the left arm to every part of Xiaofan's body. The aftermath of the demon Qi overflowed and hit the immortals in all directions. One by one, they retreated and spat out blood. Roar! Xiaofan also let out a roar. His body was turning into a demon. Waves of demon Qi were about to rush into Xiaofan's brain. The light of soul and mental strength expanded and protected Xiaofan's brain. However, after all, the left arm of the demon Thearka's palm was already a part of Xiaofan's body. Therefore, it was very difficult for Xiaofan to resist this kind of physiological backlash. Unless he cut off his wrist. Directly cut off his left arm. But now, it was too late. The demonic aura had already enveloped Xiaofan's entire body at lightning speed. Except for his head, his whole body began to turn into a demon. Puff! 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 Ferocious bone spikes grew out of Xiaofan's back. Scales had also pierced through his skin. Ah! Xiaofan let out a painful roar. Just now, the demon god's one move had melted all the demons in the demon realm and rushed into the left arm of the demon Thearka's palm. This caused the left arm of the demon Thearka's palm to instantly grow to a shocking level. Xiaofan could no longer control the situation. Ha 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 ha. I've said it before. In this universe, no one can defeat me. The demon god burst out with a sinister and triumphant laughter, as if he had everything under control. P.S. A new chapter will be released next week. As for the demon god and the lack of chapters, I will explain to everyone in the final speech. I will also do my best to make up for the mistakes. To be continued. Chapter 789. It turned out that the demon god also had some extraordinary tricks up his sleeves. From the very beginning, when he possessed Xiaofan's heart, he had already laid down his plans. He took the initiative to help Xiaofan refine the demon god's left palm. This way, he would be able to plant a seed of demonic qi in Xiaofan's body. One day, he would be able to use this seed to control Xiaofan. Finally, the moment had arrived. Just as Xiaofan's heart was about to use the ancient spiritual light to kill the demon god once and for all, the demon god finally used his final trump card. In an instant, all the demons in the demon world turned into a strange and eerie demonic qi that surged into Xiaofan's left arm. In an instant, Xiaofan's body had turned into a demon. Right now, Xiaofan's immortal body had turned into a sinister demon body. Countless scales and bone spikes burst out from Xiaofan's body. The thick and evil demonic qi was about to reach Xiaofan's head. Not good. The Grand Mist Emperor was terrified out of his wits, and he let out a wail of despair. Xiaofan. Xiaofan is going to be demonized. In the blink of an eye, the demonic qi will invade his brain. This way, Xiaofan will have to use all his soul and mental force to resist the demonic qi and struggle. The demon god will have the best chance to defeat Xiaofan. It's over. I didn't expect the demon god to be so cunning and have such a trick up his sleeves. At this time, Xiaofan raised his head and roared. His body shook and pushed Xiao Yunrong away to prevent the demonic qi from contaminating Xiao Yunrong. He used all his strength to bring Xiao Yunrong to a safe place. At this time, Xiaofan's body. It was no longer under the control of his consciousness. Roar. A ray of mental force. It swept past the center of Xiaofan's brows. A divine light was emitted, blocking the demonic qi that was spreading towards him, protecting his last line of defense. Ha ha ha. Xiaofan, it's useless. The winner is king and the loser is the bandit. Now, you can only accept your defeat. This is your destiny. Ha ha ha, from the day I entered your heart, this is already your destiny. You can't change it. Xiaofan, you're very strong. You're so strong that you can defeat any opponent, any opponent. However, you can't defeat fate. The demon god's invincible voice sounded, looking disdainfully and controlling everything. Very soon, I will completely occupy your body. Ha ha ha. Destiny? Xiaofan tried his best to resist the invasion of the demonic qi. In a split second, scenes flashed through his mind. Xiaofan did not belong to this world. He came from the 21st century on Earth. After transmigrating to this place, he could only be a live target. his fate should have been extremely miserable, and he would not have a good end in the end. However, at this moment, he had become the number one person in the universe. What is fate? Fate should be controlled by oneself. Xiaofan's eyes suddenly calmed down, no longer struggling, no longer fluctuating abruptly. If fate really exists in this world, I should stay on Earth and be an ordinary person, live an ordinary life until the end of my life. I shouldn't have come here. If fate really exists, after I transmigrate, I should also die a tragic death. Therefore, I, Xiaofan, do not believe in fate. My fate is in the hands of man, not the heavens. With a single thought, Xiaofan's entire body erupted with all sorts of pure holy light. His eyes blossomed with the light of enlightenment. The next moment, boom! Xiaofan's soul left his body. A ball of pure white divine light directly drilled out from Xiaofan's body. Every inch of this ball of holy light seemed to have a noble and invincible God sitting in it, praying and emitting the power of blessing. This was a ball of the purest soul spirit. There were no flaws at all. If it was said that Xiaofan's body was damaged by the demon god and merged with the demon god's palm, it was incomplete and had a huge flaw. Then, Xiaofan's spirit, soul, and heart were perfect, without any flaws. At this moment, Xiaofan, with great courage, great wisdom, great courage and great strength, directly abandoned his physical body and rushed out in the form of a soul. Xiaofan's voice came out from the towering holy light. Demon God, you're indeed very skillful. From the very beginning, you've left a plan to control me. But your plan isn't completely flawless. At my level of cultivation, I can abandon my physical body at any time. Although my cultivation base will be greatly reduced after abandoning my physical body, my strongest technique currently is the power of my soul spirit and the saber intent that can sweep through time and space. Without a physical body, I can still kill you. Xiaofan's voice was full of wisdom. Abandoning his physical body. Xiaofan abandoned his physical body. In order to kill the demon god, Xiaofan abandoned his physical body. The group of immortals was shocked. Deep in their hearts, they were filled with admiration and deep respect for Xiaofan. The current Xiaofan was no different from sacrificing his life for justice. You still have such a trick? The demon god was slightly surprised. He didn't think that Xiaofan would be so straightforward and give up his precious physical body. One should know that Xiaofan's physical body was an immortal body that seized the fortune of heaven and earth. It contained many techniques. Even immortals with profound cultivation base use their physical body as their foundation. No one would be willing to abandon their physical body, let alone Xiaofan's physical body, which was superior to any immortal in the world. There was no other reason. Xiaofan became an immortal at a very young age. Even the Grand Mist Emperor had spent countless years to reach his current level of cultivation. In terms of age, the Grand Mist Emperor could not be any older. Xiaofan, on the other hand, was too young. Therefore, in terms of physical body, Xiaofan was more precious than any immortal. His quality was high, and his potential was boundless. That was why the demon god could not forget to seize Xiaofan's physical body. At this time, Xiaofan abandoned his physical body without any hesitation. It was beyond the demon god's expectations. Demon god, it's over. Xiaofan's voice came from the holy white light. It was the voice of judgment. Swish, a majestic saber light slashed towards the body of the demon god's heaven-devouring beast. PFFF, the enormous heaven-devouring beast body was shattered into pieces. It was killed and turned into dust. Xiaofan. You want to kill me? Not so easy. The demon god let out an angry voice. In the next moment, a beam of demonic light burst out from the disintegrated heaven-devouring beast body. It was the demon god's soul origin light. This demonic light was also extremely powerful. After all, the demon god was now a huge monster. With its own body as the core, it had devoured two heaven-devouring beasts to nourish itself, causing its soul to be extraordinary. It was only slightly weaker than the current Xiaofan. A little bit weaker. In the blink of an eye, the demon god's soul had just appeared. It shot out like a meteor and rushed into Xiaofan's glabella, instantly occupying Xiaofan's body. After all, Xiaofan's body had already been demonized. The demon god was the lord of all demons. It could occupy this body with a single thought. Ha 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 ha. So young. What a powerful body. After taking over Xiaofan's body, Xiaofan's stiff body started to move. His pupils had completely disappeared, transforming into a demonic and gloomy glow. Xiaofan's lips curled into an evil smile. He stretched his body as if he was familiarizing himself with this body. Ha ha ha. Xiaofan, your body is not bad. In the end, it was also completely occupied by me. Now, I have my own demonic strength, the life force of the two heaven-devouring beasts, and the potential of your body. I can barely escape from your soul saber light. However, Xiaofan, your body is so young. In terms of potential, you are the best in the universe. In the future, I will hide and use your body to cultivate. Sooner or later, I will make a comeback and conquer the entire universe. As for you, Xiaofan, you have lost your body. No matter how you try to seize it, you will never be able to obtain such a perfect body. Ha 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 ha. After a long time, Xiaofan, you will eventually fail. The demon god's voice came out from Xiaofan's mouth. Xiaofan's body was trembling because of his complacency. This scene was very strange. However, what the demon god said was not an alarmist. If the demon god obtained Xiaofan's body, it meant that he would have the best potential in the universe in the future. On the other hand, if Xiaofan lost his body, his combat strength would decline instead of improving. At this moment, Xiao, the demon god, controlled Xiaofan's body and dragged out an afterimage. He was about to teleport away. Boom! Xiaofan's soul light flashed and entered the space between his eyebrows. Immediately, two voices rang out in Xiaofan's mind, Humph! Xiaofan! Your body has already been demonized. Now, even if you defeat my soul, you will only obtain a demon's body. It's useless. Demon God, I will destroy your soul. I will destroy you completely and destroy your Tao. Next, Xiaofan and the demon god's soul began to fight fiercely. As for Xiaofan's physical body, he sat down cross-legged. His body was trembling non-stop and his eyes were tightly shut. This. The Grand Mist Emperor's forehead and face were full of cold sweat. This battle has actually escalated to such a tragic level. Xiaofan and the demon god are fighting with their souls. At this time, Xiao Yunrong was also trembling with excitement. Her eyes were filled with worry. Master, Xiaofan. Xiaofan, will he be alright? The Grand Mist Emperor's brows were deeply knitted together. The current situation is very strange. It has exceeded the scope of my knowledge. The Grand Mist Emperor was thinking about how to phrase his words. At this time, many immortals also crowded over anxiously. Grand Mist Emperor, what's the situation now? At this time, Xiaofan was sitting cross-legged. His eyes seemed empty but not empty. He had completely entered a meditative state. However, Xiaofan's body was indeed a demon's body. It was covered with scales and bone spikes. It was extremely sinister and terrifying. In Xiaofan's head, one could vaguely see a ball of white light and a ball of scarlet light fighting against each other, trying to devour each other. Xiaofan and the demon god are engaged in a soul battle. In other words, it's a battle of soul possession. Finally, the Grand Mist Emperor spoke. This is a battle of life and death. There are only two outcomes. 1. Xiaohan's soul destroys the demon god's soul and successfully takes back his body. The other outcome is that the demon god completely destroys Xiaohan's soul. There is absolutely no third outcome. However, there is something strange. Xiaohan's body has been demonized. There is no cure. This means that the body that Xiaohan takes back is also a demon's body. Then, is he a human, or a demon? As they spoke, Xiaohan's body suddenly changed. Some energy overflowed and wrapped around Xiaohan's body, forming a cocoon that emitted a blinding light. The inside of the cocoon emitted energy fluctuations that could dominate the universe. The Grand Mist Emperor and the other immortals stared at the cocoon with their mouths agape. They were at a loss for words. 1 day, 2 days. 3 days, a whole month had passed. There were no changes to the cocoon. But now, the immortal world. At least it had calmed down. The monster race was annihilated, and the monster world was erased from history. The threat of the heaven-devouring beast was also gone. In fact, the immortal world experienced unprecedented peace and tranquility. Of course, the strangest thing was the cocoon. Every immortal knew that inside the cocoon were the two most powerful beings in the universe. Xiaohan and the demon god. Every day, countless immortals would stop to watch the cocoon, nervously praying that Xiaohan would emerge victorious in the end. However, 10,000 years had passed, the cocoon was still just a cocoon. Not only had the immortal world regained its former prosperity, more descendants of immortals had been born. The Grand Mist Emperor controlled the immortal world. Xiaohan's family had also undergone some changes in the past 10,000 years. Xiaohan's son had become a top true immortal. It was only a matter of time before he broke through to the immortal emperor realm. Xiaohan's wives, like his son Xiaofan, were about to become low-level immortal emperors. Wu Yu and Xiao Mingchu's cultivation had also increased greatly. Time could make people forget everything. The new generation of immortals had almost forgotten about the battle between Xiaohan and the demon god. They only knew that the hero who saved the immortal world and the universe was called Xiaohan. Another 10,000 years passed. The cocoon was still the same. Finally, everyone was sure that Xiaohan and the demon god would not hatch again. Only Xiaohan's family and friends would stand near the cocoon every day, clasping their hands together and praying. They believed that Xiaohan would come back. He would definitely come back. He will come back to reunite with us. I believe so, Mo Qingtong said. Yes, definitely. Xiao Yunrong nodded heavily. The soul battle between Xiaohan and the demon god lasted 30,000 years. On a certain day. Crack 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 crack, the cocoon. Finally, there were cracks. Strange energy waves were coming from it. The energy waves were so strong that they could destroy the universe at will. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, with the Grand Mist Emperor in the lead, all the immortals approached the cocoon and hovered in the air. All of the immortals were filled with shock. Shock. Fear. Hope. Worry. Excitement. Uncontrollable. Their eyes were glued to the cocoon. When Xiaohan's soul and the demon god were locked in a fierce battle, all the immortals were originally Xiaohan's slaves. But at that moment, the master-slave contract between them and Xiaohan seemed to have disappeared. That was why they had been unable to predict Xiaohan's fate for so many years. And the cocoon was about to break. Did Xiaohan defeat the demon god? Or did the demon god kill Xiaohan? The answer was about to be revealed. This was the answer that concerned the survival of the universe. If the cocoon broke and the demon god appeared, then the immortal world would be destroyed. The universe would be destroyed. No one could stop it. Pft. 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 Pieces of the cocoon began to fall apart. The life waves grew stronger and stronger. All the immortals' throats went hoarse, unable to make a sound. Their hearts were in their throats. All of a sudden. Bang! The cocoon exploded. Finally, a living being appeared. A slender body with demonic lines, scales and bone spikes all over his body. An evil and cynical gaze. Every pore on his body exuded a vast amount of demonic chi. Oh! His gaze swept across the immortals in the sky. At this time, all the immortals' hearts were on the verge of shattering. The demon god. There was a thick aura of the demon god on this fellow. It's, the demon god, 1. The Grand Mist Emperor was terrified. At this time, the scales, spikes, and bone spikes on his body retracted, revealing the perfect figure of a man. Handsome, cold, and his eyes shone with the light of supremacy. The body was still Xiaofan's body, and the appearance was still Xiaofan's, but there was an additional demonic chi and arrogance in his eyes. Heh! With my current strength, it seems I can destroy the universe with a single thought. I can sweep through the myriad worlds, he said with a chuckle. When his voice came out, the whole world fell silent. Dong! 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 He began to walk in the air, walking towards Mo Qingtong, Xiao Yunrong, Xiaoan, and the others. Huh? Xiaofan's wife and sons looked at the evil man walking towards them. At this time, ha 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 ha. I'm finally back. The man let out a carefree laugh. The demon god's soul is finally destroyed by me. It's completely destroyed and no longer exists in this world. However, my body can't change back. It's a demon body. To be precise, it's an invincible demon body. I seem to have become a new generation of demon god. So. The winner is Xiaofan. How troublesome. However, my soul can control this demon body, so, you can still see me as a human. Xiaofan smiled. Everything, the disaster, is over, Xiaofan smiled. Boom! The whole immortal world was in an uproar. Xiaofan's wife and son had already rushed forward. To be continued. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.